In the depths of the ancient world, long before the rise of Rome or the flourishing of Greece, there existed a civilization whose secrets still haunt the pages of history. The Phoenicians, masters of the sea, pioneers of writing, and creators of vast trade empires, left behind mysteries that remain unsolved to this day. Their ships crossed oceans, their influence reached distant shores, and yet so much of their story is lost to time. What drove their obsession with the stars? What hidden knowledge did their scribes possess, scrawled in cryptic symbols? And what secrets lie buried beneath the sands of forgotten cities like Tyre, Byblos, and Carthage? The Phoenicians were not merely traders. They were shadowy architects of the ancient world, leaving behind traces of their enigmatic rituals, unexplained technologies, and strange beliefs. From unmarked tombs to forgotten temples, their legacy is riddled with clues that defy explanation. Tonight, we embark on a journey to uncover the chilling mysteries that still whisper from the ancient Phoenician world. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the shadows of history, where answers are waiting to be discovered. We now turn our gaze to the earthly rituals that anchored this ancient civilization, rituals steeped in mystery, spirituality, and reverence for the unseen. Among the most enigmatic relics of Phoenician culture are their ritual masks, intricately carved and carefully crafted faces that continue to provoke more questions than answers. Imagine, for a moment, standing in the heart of an ancient Phoenician temple, the air thick with incense and the murmur of prayer. In the dim light of torch flames, you see them, masks, wooden, stone, or bronze, resting silently on altars, their hollow eyes staring back with an intensity that almost feels alive. These masks, often associated with religious and funerary practices, were not mere decorations. They were portals, or so the Phoenicians believed, connecting the mortal world to the divine. The significance of Phoenician ritual masks remains shrouded in mystery, largely because the contexts in which they were found provide only fragmented glimpses into their true purpose. Archaeological excavations in sites like Byblos, Sidon, and Carthage have uncovered several examples of these masks, but the stories they tell are far from clear. Was the mask a representation of a god or goddess, or was it intended to embody the spirit of an ancestor, guiding the living in their relationship with the dead? Many of the masks discovered are remarkably lifelike, with finely chiseled features that suggest they were made with great care and precision. Some are adorned with intricate patterns and symbols, suggesting they may have been imbued with mystical properties. In some cases, the masks are found in tombs, suggesting they were used during burial rituals or ceremonies meant to honor the deceased. Others are found in temples or sacred spaces, hinting at their possible use in rituals intended to invoke or commune with the gods. One of the most intriguing examples of a Phoenician ritual mask was uncovered in the ancient city of Sidon. It is made of bronze, with an unsettlingly serene expression that gives little away. The mask has been speculated to represent a goddess, possibly the Phoenician deity Astarte, known for her association with fertility, love, and war. If this theory holds true, it would suggest that the Phoenicians may have used these masks to summon or embody the power of their gods during sacred ceremonies. Could these masks have been worn by priests or priestesses to channel the divine? Or perhaps they were used in the actual rites themselves, placed upon the faces of the deceased to ensure safe passage into the afterlife. Yet, while many masks seem to depict divine or mythological figures, others seem to take a more human form, realistic, almost hauntingly so. These masks are often found in funerary contexts, leading some scholars to believe they were used to represent the spirits of the deceased. The notion of a mask acting as a conduit for the soul is not unique to Phoenician culture. Many ancient civilizations believed in the power of masks to serve as a vessel for the spirit. But what was it about the Phoenicians that made these masks such a vital part of their rituals? One theory suggests that the Phoenicians were deeply concerned with the separation between the living and the dead, and the mask may have played a crucial role in bridging that gap. By donning or placing these masks on the deceased, the living might have sought to ensure that the dead were not truly gone, that their spirits could return, offering protection or blessings to the family or community. Was this why masks were so intricately designed? Was the craftsmanship a reflection of the deep respect and fear the Phoenicians held for the afterlife and the unseen forces that governed their world? In addition to their funerary use, some evidence suggests that these masks were involved in public religious rituals. A handful of masks have been found in the ruins of Phoenician temples, though their exact function in these settings remains unclear. Were they worn by priests or temple attendants during sacred ceremonies? Did they serve as intermediaries between the worshippers and the gods, channeling divine energy or power into the rituals? Or were they perhaps used as tools for invoking the spirits of ancestors, whose presence was believed to aid in the success of the community? What is perhaps most unsettling about these masks, however, is the persistent feeling they evoke, an unnerving, almost otherworldly presence. The finely sculpted eyes that seem to follow you, the delicate features that suggest an unknown depth of meaning, the carefully rendered expressions that hint at both the divine and the human. These masks are not merely artifacts. They are echoes of a culture that believed in powers beyond the physical realm, and their very existence forces us to confront the age-old question: how much did the Phoenicians truly know about the forces that govern life and death? While we may never know the full extent of their significance, the masks remain as silent witnesses to the spiritual world that once shaped Phoenician society. They offer us a glimpse into a belief system that was both grounded in the material world and deeply attuned to the metaphysical. Whether used in ceremonies, burial rites, or as representations of gods and ancestors, these masks stand as a testament to the Phoenicians' reverence for the unseen and their understanding of the profound connection between the living, the dead, and the divine. But as we examine the ritual masks of the Phoenicians, one question lingers. What other secrets do these lifeless faces conceal? Were they merely tools for religious rituals, or did they hold the keys to an even deeper mystery, one that transcends time and space? As we continue our exploration of Phoenician enigmas, we may yet uncover more masks, more symbols, and more questions that challenge everything we thought we knew about this ancient, enigmatic civilization. As we move from the chilling mystery of the Phoenician ritual masks, we turn our attention to one of the most enigmatic burial sites in the ancient world, the tombs of Byblos. Located along the rugged coastline of modern-day Lebanon, Byblos was once a bustling Phoenician port city, a hub of trade and culture. Today, it remains a UNESCO World Heritage Site, its ancient ruins still carrying the weight of millennia. Among these ruins, the tombs of Byblos stand as silent witnesses to a civilization whose beliefs about life and death continue to haunt us. Byblos is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, and its significance in Phoenician history cannot be overstated. The city's strategic location, its thriving commerce, and its status as a center of religious activity made it a focal point for both local and regional power. Yet, it is beneath the city's ancient streets, in the darkness of the tombs, that some of the most profound mysteries are found. The Phoenician tombs of Byblos are unlike any other ancient burial sites in the Mediterranean. The tombs, carved into the rock beneath the city, are elaborate and intricate, constructed not just to bury the dead, but to house them for eternity. These subterranean chambers, which date back to around 2000 BCE, were reserved for the elite of Phoenician society. those who held the power and influence to ensure a place in the afterlife. As you enter one of these tombs, the atmosphere changes. The air is cool, heavy with the weight of centuries. The stone walls, carved with symbols and inscriptions, seem to pulse with the memory of those who once lay within. In some tombs, you will find a solitary stone sarcophagus. Others contain multiple burial niches, suggesting that the tombs served not only as final resting places, but also as family crypts. The layout is careful, deliberate, a testament to the Phoenicians' complex beliefs about death, the afterlife, and the rituals required to cross over into the next world. Some of the tombs are simple, others more elaborate. What is most striking, however, are the treasures buried alongside the deceased: golden jewelry, precious gemstones, and intricately crafted artifacts that speak of a people who valued not just life, but the promise of life beyond death. These objects were believed to serve as provisions for the deceased, items meant to accompany the soul on its journey through the afterlife. But beyond the wealth of artifacts, there is something unsettling about these tombs. While many of the burial practices align with what we know of Phoenician customs, there are details that don't quite fit. Take, for instance, the human remains themselves. Some of the bodies found in the tombs of Byblos exhibit signs of unusual treatment. Certain skeletons have been found with their limbs bent or bound in odd positions, suggesting ritualistic practices that go beyond mere burial. What did these positions symbolize? Was it a symbolic gesture meant to ensure the soul's safe passage? Or could it indicate a belief in some form of posthumous transformation? Even more mysterious are the inscriptions found in these tombs. While some of the carvings are typical Phoenician script, others appear to be in languages or symbols that remain undeciphered. Could these strange symbols be an ancient code, a hidden message intended only for the initiated? Were these inscriptions meant to protect the deceased, or to ward off evil spirits? Some scholars have speculated that these markings could be the key to understanding the Phoenicians' deeper, more esoteric beliefs that were perhaps too dangerous or sacred to be shared with the living. One of the most famous tombs discovered in Byblos belongs to a king, or perhaps a high priest, whose remains were found in an opulent sarcophagus. This tomb, unlike others in the region, contained no lesser grave goods, but instead was surrounded by a wealth of ritual objects that some believe may have been used in magical or religious ceremonies. It is within this tomb that one of the most perplexing features of Phoenician burial customs was revealed: a strange, almost eerie arrangement of objects placed in specific patterns. These objects, bones, artifacts, and vessels, were meticulously arranged in ways that have baffled archaeologists. And what purpose did these precise arrangements serve? Were they offerings to the gods, or did they represent something more personal, more intimate to the deceased? Could they hold the key to understanding the purpose of the tombs themselves? And then there is the question of the location. The tombs of Byblos are not scattered randomly across the landscape. They are often found near or beneath the city's most sacred areas, close to temples or places of worship. Why were these tombs built in such locations? Was it merely a matter of proximity, a choice driven by practicality? Or was there a deeper spiritual reason for this? The Phoenicians were a deeply religious people, and their beliefs about life and death were intertwined with their understanding of the cosmos and the divine. Could it be that the tombs were designed to connect the deceased to the divine, ensuring that their spirits remained close to the gods they had served in life? What is perhaps most striking about the tombs of Byblos is the sense of deliberate preservation. The Phoenicians, much like the Egyptians, believed that the body and its possessions should be preserved for eternity. However, Unlike the Egyptian pyramids, the Phoenician tombs are not grand, monumental structures. They are hidden, secretive, carved into the rock as if to guard their contents from the prying eyes of the living. The tombs of Byblos suggest a people who believed death was not an end, but a continuation that could be controlled, protected, and perhaps even understood. But could there be more to these tombs than we know? Could they hold hidden knowledge, secrets waiting to be uncovered? While the tombs of Byblos continue to yield new discoveries, many questions remain unanswered. The cryptic carvings, the unusual burial practices, the strange arrangement of objects, all suggest a level of ritual complexity that we have yet to fully understand. What were the Phoenicians trying to tell us through their burial practices? What did they hope to achieve in the afterlife? Were these tombs simply the final resting places of the dead? Or did they serve a larger purpose, one we have yet to decipher? As we continue to uncover the mysteries of Byblos, one thing becomes clear. The tombs of this ancient city are not just relics of the past, but symbols of a lost understanding of life, death, and the sacred. The more we learn, the more we realize how little we truly know. The tombs of Byblos stand as a reminder that, even in the ancient world, there were those who sought to unlock the deepest secrets of existence. And perhaps, just perhaps, they left something behind for us to find. As we move from the shadowy tombs of Byblos, we now find ourselves drawn to the heart of Phoenician spiritual life, the Temple of Melqart. Located in the ancient city of Tyre, this temple was one of the most sacred sites in Phoenician culture, a place where rituals that connected the earthly realm to the divine were performed. Melqart, often referred to as the Tyrian Hercules, was a god of immense significance, a god of kingship, sea trade, and death, whose worship seems to have held secrets that even today remain largely untold. Standing at the site of the Temple of Melqart, one is struck by the sheer scale of the ancient ruins. The remains of this once magnificent temple, which dates back to the 9th century BCE, still whisper the stories of the rituals that once filled its sacred spaces. Although much of the temple has been lost to time, what remains is enough to provoke the imagination. The massive columns that would have held the temple aloft, now broken and weathered, suggest an edifice of monumental significance. The stone steps leading into the heart of the temple give the feeling of a long-forgotten journey, one that would have been taken by those who sought the favor of the gods. The Phoenician people were known for their intricate religious practices, and the Temple of Melqart was the focal point of many of these rituals. What we know about these ceremonies comes not only from archaeological evidence, but also from ancient writings, which describe elaborate rites and offerings to the gods. Yet, even with all the historical accounts, there are still gaps, mysteries that resist understanding. What exactly took place within the temple's walls? What were the rituals that tied the people of Tyre to their god, and what did these rituals mean? We know, for instance, that the Temple of Melqart was the site of royal coronations. Kings were believed to be divine representatives of the gods on earth, and their connection to Melqart, who was associated with kingship and divine power, was essential to their legitimacy. Rituals at the temple often involved anointment with sacred oils, the offering of costly gifts, and the reading of omens. It is possible that the king would undergo symbolic rebirths, rites that connected him to Melqart's divine power, reaffirming his role as the earthly embodiment of the god. This divine legitimization was crucial in a world where power was as fragile as it was coveted. But beyond the ceremonies of kingship, the Temple of Melqart was also a place of profound mystery. Among the most intriguing aspects of Phoenician rituals at this temple were the offerings made to the god, offerings that included not just precious metals, incense, and fruits, but, according to some reports, the ultimate sacrifice: human lives. For centuries, it was widely accepted that the Phoenicians practiced human sacrifice, particularly during times of great crisis or to ensure the prosperity of the city. Melqart, as a god of death and resurrection, may have been invoked in these grim ceremonies. One of the most chilling aspects of the Temple of Melqart's rituals was the idea that the god's power could be amplified by the offering of human life. Some ancient sources mention the sacrifice of young children, whose purity and innocence were thought to make them especially precious offerings. But these accounts are often vague and contradictory. Could this be exaggeration? Or was it the brutal truth of the religious practices of the time? What is even more unsettling is that, while human sacrifice is still debated among scholars, the evidence seems to point to a ritualistic understanding of life and death, an understanding that blurred the line between sacrifice and the desire to appease the gods. Archaeological findings from the ruins of Tyre show that in and around the temple, burials of infants and young children have been discovered. Were these remains part of ritual sacrifices, or were they simply burials in proximity to the temple due to other, as yet undetermined reasons? The evidence is inconclusive, and the truth of the temple's most sacred ceremonies remains shrouded in the silence of the past. Alongside the question of sacrifice, there is the matter of the temple's mysterious symbols and iconography. Carvings and inscriptions found near the site depict a range of figures and motifs, some that are familiar, others that remain enigmatic. Among these are depictions of Melqart himself, often shown as a powerful figure, holding a scepter or riding a chariot. But what do these images signify? Are they representations of the god's power? Or do they hold deeper, more secretive meanings, perhaps related to the temple's mysterious rituals? Perhaps the most striking and puzzling of these symbols are the depictions of what appear to be celestial bodies, stars, planets, and comets. It is not lost on us that the Phoenicians were accomplished sailors, navigating the Mediterranean with precision, guided by the stars. Could the presence of celestial imagery in the temple's iconography indicate a deeper connection between Melqart and the heavens? Could the rituals performed here have been influenced by the stars, perhaps even performed at specific times of the year when certain constellations were visible? And could these rituals have been a way of aligning the city's fate with the divine order of the cosmos? These questions open up a new realm of possibility, one that suggests the Phoenicians' relationship with Melqart went beyond mere worship of a sea god. Melqart may have been more than a figure of power. He may have been the embodiment of a cosmic force, guiding the city of Tyre not only in life but in death and beyond. Some fringe theories even propose that the Phoenicians were practicing an ancient form of astrology, one that linked their rituals directly to the movements of the stars. Could these rituals, performed in the sacred space of Melqart's temple, have been designed not only to ensure prosperity, but to attune the city to the broader workings of the universe? While much of this remains speculative, the fact remains that the rituals at the Temple of Melqart were shrouded in mystery. They reflect a belief system that combined the tangible and the intangible, the material and the cosmic. For the Phoenicians, their relationship with their gods, particularly Melqart, was one that transcended simple devotion. It was a relationship bound by the very forces of nature and the heavens themselves. Today, the Temple of Melqart stands as a silent monument to a lost world. What remains of it is weathered, fragmented, and buried beneath layers of history. Yet the mysteries it holds have not been forgotten. The questions that linger, unanswered, are a testament to the depth of Phoenician spirituality and their belief in a world governed not just by kings and men, but by forces that transcended human understanding. What secrets still lie hidden in the stones of the temple? And how much of the Phoenician connection to the divine remains locked away, waiting to be uncovered? The mysteries of the Temple of Melqart, like so much of Phoenician history, remain as elusive as the winds that once carried their ships across the Mediterranean. As we leave the haunting sanctity of the Temple of Melqart, our journey takes us to a seemingly modest yet profoundly intriguing artifact of Phoenician culture, the coin. In the grand tapestry of ancient civilizations, coins are often thought of as simple tools of commerce, pragmatic, functional, and easily overlooked. But for the Phoenicians, these small, circular objects served as more than just a medium of exchange. They were windows into a civilization's identity, its power, its beliefs, and its mysteries. Phoenician coins first began circulating around the 6th century BCE, at a time when the Phoenician city-states, especially Tyre and Sidon, were at the height of their influence across the Mediterranean. The Phoenicians were renowned merchants, navigating vast distances across open seas, establishing trade routes that stretched from the coasts of modern-day Spain to the shores of the Levant. It was not long before these seafaring traders began minting their own coins, marked with symbols that held significance far beyond their monetary value. At first glance, a Phoenician coin might seem like any other coin from the ancient world, a simple piece of metal, usually bronze or silver, with an image of a deity, a king, or an animal embossed on its face. Yet, when you look closer, you begin to notice details that raise more questions than they answer. The designs are often intricate, rich with symbolism, yet strangely foreign. While other ancient coins featured recognizable figures like gods, heroes, or rulers, Phoenician coins often presented more enigmatic images, symbols that are difficult to interpret or that don't quite fit into the cultural or religious iconography of the time. Take, for example, the famous Tyrian shekel. This coin, one of the most widely circulated Phoenician coins, bears the image of Melqart, the god of Tyre. But the depiction is curious. Melqart is shown with a lion's skin draped over his shoulders, a typical sign of a warrior or hero, yet his face is often obscured by a helmet, leaving only a shadow of his identity. Why was this god's face hidden? Was it a reflection of his mysterious and powerful nature, or was it a symbolic representation of something beyond mere physical appearance? Some scholars have speculated that the obscured face may symbolize the idea of divine mystery, a power that is felt but not fully understood, an eternal enigma for those who sought his favor. In addition to the standard iconography, Phoenician coins often featured an array of symbols that seemed to defy explanation. In particular, the use of animals, such as the bull, the dolphin, and the eagle, appear frequently on these coins. Each animal could be associated with various traits: strength, wisdom, protection, or power. But what do these symbols truly represent? Were they connected to the Phoenician gods, or were they emblematic of deeper, more esoteric beliefs? Perhaps secrets about the Phoenicians' understanding of the natural world or the cosmos. The presence of dolphins on Phoenician coins is particularly intriguing. Dolphins, often associated with the sea, were revered by the Phoenicians as symbols of protection and safe passage. But what if the dolphins had a deeper meaning, one tied to the mysteries of the oceans themselves? Some theories suggest that the dolphin may have been a symbol of hidden knowledge, a creature that navigated the deep, unexplored parts of the world, much like the Phoenicians themselves, who sailed into the unknown, their ships guided by the stars and their instincts. Could the dolphin represent the key to understanding the Phoenicians' secretive knowledge of the seas, perhaps their advanced navigation techniques? Or was it a symbol of the unknown, of journeys taken into realms beyond human comprehension? In some of the more rare and mysterious coins, the imagery takes a more cryptic turn. For example, one of the lesser-known Phoenician coins features a series of concentric circles surrounded by an intricate web of lines and symbols. While these coins are often interpreted as having a purely decorative purpose, their geometric design hints at something more: the possibility of hidden codes or messages embedded within the very structure of the coin itself. Could these patterns be a form of secret writing, a coded message meant only for the initiated? Were they connected to the Phoenician understanding of geometry, mathematics, or even astrology? Some fringe theories suggest that these coins may have been imbued with a hidden knowledge, perhaps even serving as a form of talismanic power. The idea that a simple coin could hold the key to unlocking ancient mysteries is a tantalizing one, yet it remains speculative. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Phoenician coins lies not in their designs, but in the sheer spread of these coins throughout the Mediterranean world. Phoenician coins were not merely used in Tyre or Sidon, they were exchanged in distant lands, from the shores of North Africa to the islands of Greece and beyond. This widespread distribution suggests that Phoenician coins were not just valuable for trade, they were a symbol of the Phoenicians' far-reaching influence, a sign of their mastery over the seas and their ability to shape the destinies of distant peoples. Yet, the question remains: why did the Phoenicians place so much importance on the symbolism of their coins? In the ancient world, currency was often about more than just commerce. It was a means of conveying power, culture, and identity. Could these coins have been designed not only to facilitate trade, but also to convey deeper, more mystical meanings? Were they more than mere tools for financial exchange, serving as vessels of hidden knowledge, esoteric truths about the Phoenician worldview, and their understanding of the cosmos? The coins we have today provide us with only a glimpse into this ancient civilization, a civilization whose secrets are still waiting to be uncovered. The imagery, the symbols, the patterns, all of these elements suggest that the Phoenicians were not only great merchants and sailors, but also a people with an intricate understanding of the world around them, a people who encoded their beliefs, their knowledge, and perhaps even their greatest mysteries into the very currency they used to conquer the seas. As we look at these coins, we must ask, what knowledge did they carry? Were they mere tools of trade, or were they imbued with greater significance, hidden messages waiting for the right eyes to uncover? The mystery of the Phoenician coin is just one piece of the larger puzzle, a puzzle that connects the ancient world to our own, one small circular artifact at a time. And as we continue to explore the depths of Phoenician history, we are left with more questions than answers. What lies beyond the imagery and the metal? What might still be hidden, waiting to be discovered? High above the Mediterranean, the ancient Phoenicians set their eyes on the stars, silent beacons that guided their journey across vast and unpredictable oceans. The sea, their domain, was not just a way of life, but a pathway to power, wealth, and influence. But in their navigation, the Phoenicians might have known something far deeper than mere charting of waters. Some suggest they possessed maps of the stars, mysterious, ancient star maps, the kind that could unlock secrets about their extraordinary maritime capabilities. One of the most intriguing elements of Phoenician exploration lies in their potential knowledge of celestial navigation. The Phoenicians, long known for their unparalleled seafaring skills, were said to be capable of traversing not only the Mediterranean, but also venturing into uncharted waters far beyond. How did they navigate these vast distances with such precision? Was it simply the strength of their ships, or did they possess hidden knowledge that has been obscured by time? Throughout history, we have uncovered tantalizing glimpses of what might have been Phoenician star maps. Some suggest these maps were not ordinary depictions of the night sky, but rather sophisticated charts that guided their ships to faraway lands, from the coasts of Britain to the shores of Africa. These maps may have been recorded on papyrus or inscribed on stone, and though none have been conclusively identified, fragments of what appear to be star charts have surfaced in archaeological digs. One of the most famous accounts comes from a discovery in the ancient city of Carthage, the Phoenician colony that would eventually rise to prominence. In the heart of its ruins, a stone tablet was unearthed that contained strange markings. The symbols were unfamiliar, appearing almost like the geometric shapes of constellations. Could these shapes be a guide to the stars, An ancient Phoenician map that was once used to guide explorers across the sea? Some believe so, but no one can say for certain. These alleged maps hint at a knowledge of the stars that was far more advanced than what is traditionally attributed to the ancient world. The Phoenicians were not just sailors, they were also astronomers, studying the heavens with a level of sophistication that challenges conventional understanding of early civilizations. If their star maps truly existed, they would suggest that the Phoenicians understood celestial navigation centuries before it became commonplace in other cultures. One theory suggests that these maps were built around the concept of star paths, the imagined lines between key stars that sailors could follow as they crossed the open ocean. These paths would have guided their journeys, not unlike the way modern sailors use GPS coordinates. Perhaps the Phoenicians understood how to use constellations like the Big Dipper or Orion's Belt, using them as markers to pinpoint specific locations on the globe. Their knowledge of the stars could have been passed down through generations of sailors, encoded in their maps, whispered through rituals, and guarded fiercely as a precious secret. While no complete Phoenician star maps have been found, a small number of artifacts continue to puzzle scholars. For example, some ancient Phoenician inscriptions found in places like Byblos and Tyre include symbols that bear a striking resemblance to star clusters or celestial bodies. These markings, though not definitive proof of star maps, suggest that the Phoenicians were observing and recording the heavens in ways that were not just ceremonial, but practical. Other fragments have been uncovered in the wreckage of Phoenician ships. In these rare finds, scholars have discovered what appear to be navigational tools, compasses, astrolabes, and intricate charts. These items may have been used to trace the stars, allowing Phoenician sailors to find their way even in the darkest of nights. Some experts believe that these tools were part of a sophisticated system that enabled the Phoenicians to travel far beyond their known world, pushing the boundaries of exploration long before the age of Columbus. However, there are also voices within the scholarly community that question the existence of these star maps. Could the Phoenicians have relied solely on practical, observational navigation, using the sun, the moon, and the patterns of the waves to guide their ships? Some argue that there's no conclusive evidence to support the theory that the Phoenicians created detailed star charts, or that they used them as an essential tool in their seafaring ventures. Despite the lack of definitive proof, the possibility remains tantalizing. Perhaps the Phoenicians, in their endless search for trade routes, stumbled upon a deeper, almost mystical understanding of the world. Could their navigational prowess have been guided not just by what they could see, but by a celestial knowledge passed down through generations? Were their star maps not just a means of travel, but a reflection of their spiritual connection to the universe? A way to chart not only the earth, but the heavens themselves? In recent years, new technologies have brought renewed interest to the mystery. Advances in satellite imaging and digital mapping have allowed researchers to study ancient Phoenician sites from a new perspective. Could modern tools be the key to unraveling the truth about Phoenician star maps? As archaeologists continue to uncover new evidence, it is possible that the hidden secrets of these ancient charts will one day be revealed, offering a glimpse into the minds of a civilization that understood the world in ways that still baffle us today. But for now, the Phoenician star maps remain elusive, whispers from a time long past, tantalizing clues that invite us to wonder, did the Phoenicians possess the key to the stars? Or were their voyages simply guided by a sophisticated, yet still mysterious, understanding of the seas? As we continue to explore the secrets of the Phoenicians, the answers may lie just beyond our reach, waiting to be uncovered. As we turn our attention from the striking imagery of Phoenician coins, we find ourselves drawn toward a deeper mystery, one that lies not in the remnants of small artifacts, but in the vast expanse of the open seas. The Phoenicians were known as the greatest sailors and traders of the ancient Mediterranean world, their ships crisscrossing the oceans, reaching distant shores from the Levant to the farthest reaches of Europe and Africa. Yet, despite their dominance of the seas, there is one enigma that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries: the lost Phoenician fleet. The story of the Phoenician fleet is steeped in both myth and reality. Ancient texts often speak of enormous fleets, vast armadas that would set out to establish trade routes, conquer distant lands, or fight in naval wars. Among these stories, one stands out: the mysterious disappearance of an entire fleet said to have sailed off into the unknown, never to return. It is a tale that has both captivated and bewildered scholars, for it raises a host of questions about the true extent of Phoenician maritime power and their ability to navigate the world. To understand this mystery, we must first look at the scale of Phoenician naval power. The Phoenicians were not only skilled shipbuilders but also master navigators. Their vessels, ranging from small trading ships to large warships, were designed for both speed and endurance, capable of covering vast distances across the Mediterranean and beyond. They were the first to master the art of sailing without relying solely on the wind, using oars to navigate through calm waters and sailing in a way that allowed them to reach places others could not. Their ships were as much a symbol of their prowess as their legendary trade networks, connecting the Mediterranean world in a complex web of commerce and culture. But what of the fleets that sailed beyond these known waters? Among the most famous stories is that of a Phoenician expedition, led by a commander named Hanno, who is said to have ventured far down the coast of Africa, reaching the western shores of the continent. In his account, recorded on ancient inscriptions, Hanno describes a journey that took his fleet into uncharted waters, where they encountered strange lands and peoples. Yet, despite the grandeur of his expedition, Hanno's fleet is believed to have eventually returned to Carthage, unscathed, but never to venture so far again. Other records tell of fleets sent by the Phoenicians to explore the Atlantic Ocean, crossing the Pillars of Hercules, the narrow strait at the western edge of the Mediterranean. These expeditions are said to have reached the shores of the British Isles, even as far as the Azores. But no definitive evidence has ever been found to confirm these voyages. Were these stories simply the fanciful tales of seafaring men, or was there some truth to them? Did the Phoenicians indeed possess the navigational knowledge and technology to sail far beyond the known world? The most tantalizing question, however, surrounds the fate of one particular fleet, the so-called lost Phoenician fleet. According to ancient accounts, this fleet was sent on a mission, perhaps a military campaign or a trade expedition, only to vanish without a trace. Some scholars have speculated that the fleet may have been lost during a battle or caught in a storm, but no wreckage or conclusive evidence has ever been found to support these theories. Others suggest that the fleet may have been intentionally abandoned, or that its crew deserted the ships, leaving them to sink into the depths of the sea. A few fringe theories take this mystery even further, positing that the lost fleet may have been involved in something far more extraordinary. Some suggest that the fleet was not lost by accident, but rather disappeared due to some sort of supernatural or mystical force. Given the Phoenicians' deep religious beliefs and their connection to the gods, could the fleet have been the subject of some ancient curse or divine punishment? Could the sailors have sailed too far, seeking knowledge or treasures beyond human reach, only to be lost to history forever? Other, more speculative theories point to the possibility of the fleet's destruction by forces outside the known world. Some theorize that the Phoenicians were not the only advanced seafaring people of the ancient world, and that other civilizations, lost to time, may have rivaled them in their knowledge of navigation and the seas. Could it be that the fleet encountered these ancient rivals, Who destroyed it in a confrontation that history has forgotten? The lack of definitive evidence only adds to the mystery. No shipwrecks, no ancient artifacts, no written records that confirm the fleet's fate, just a silence that stretches across centuries. And yet, this silence is not an empty void. It is filled with speculation, with theories that speak to the limits of human understanding. What was so powerful, so mysterious, about the Phoenician fleet that it could simply disappear into the annals of time? As modern technology advances, we continue to explore the waters of the Mediterranean and beyond, searching for signs of the lost Phoenician fleet. Archaeologists have scoured the shores of North Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, hoping to uncover traces of the ships or their crew. Underwater expeditions have explored the depths of the seas where Phoenician vessels may have sailed, but the evidence remains elusive. Perhaps, one day, a deep-sea excavation or a new discovery will finally reveal the fate of the lost fleet, bringing us closer to understanding what happened on that fateful journey. Until then, the mystery endures, an unsolved puzzle that reminds us how much of the ancient world remains hidden beneath the waves, waiting for a future explorer to uncover the secrets that have been lost to time. So as we continue our journey through the ancient world, we are left with the haunting question: was the lost Phoenician fleet simply a victim of nature, or is there a deeper, more profound mystery behind its disappearance? And if it was truly lost, what secrets did it carry with it? Secrets that may still lie hidden in the vast expanse of the sea, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. As we continue to navigate the complex and enigmatic world of the Phoenicians, we find ourselves drawn to the site of one of the most fabled and mysterious ancient cities of the Mediterranean, Tyre. Today, Tyre is a bustling port city in modern-day Lebanon, a vibrant testament to the Phoenician heritage that once ruled the seas and defined an era. But what lies beneath the surface, both literally and metaphorically, is a tale that has both puzzled and intrigued archaeologists, historians, and explorers for centuries. The lost Phoenician city of Tyre, as it is often referred to, holds secrets buried in its ancient ruins, and the truth behind its rise, its fall, and its eventual obscurity remains a source of endless speculation. To understand the mystery of Tyre, we must first imagine the grandeur of its peak, a city renowned for its strategic location and cultural dominance. Tyre was not just a port, it was the heart of Phoenician power, its influence spreading far beyond the Mediterranean. It was the city from which the famous King Hiram I ruled, and its merchant fleets were the envy of the ancient world. The city's most prized possession, however, was its access to a rare and precious commodity, Tyrian purple, a dye so valuable it became synonymous with royalty and the divine. This dye, extracted from the murex shellfish found in the waters around the city, was said to be the key to Tyre's wealth and prestige. But what is truly remarkable about Tyre, especially to modern scholars, is not just its wealth or its commercial prowess. It is the city's history of destruction and disappearance, a history that seems to be woven with elements of mystery and myth. In the ancient world, Tyre was famed for its resilience, having withstood numerous sieges and attacks over centuries. Yet, despite its strength, Tyre was ultimately destroyed, not by foreign invaders, but by a sequence of events that has left more questions than answers. The most famous of these events is the Siege of Tyre by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. As the story goes, Alexander, seeking to conquer the Phoenician city, faced an enormous challenge. Tyre was built on an island, and its fortifications were considered impenetrable. In a feat of military ingenuity, Alexander ordered the construction of a causeway that stretched from the mainland to the island, allowing his forces to breach the walls and eventually destroy the city. This dramatic conquest, though well documented, marks the beginning of Tyre's decline. But it is not the whole story. After the siege, Tyre was rebuilt, but it never regained its former glory. The city became a shadow of its former self, eventually falling under the control of successive empires, including the Romans and the Arabs. It was during this long period of occupation that Tyre's identity as the great Phoenician city began to fade from history. Yet, even as it was subsumed into larger imperial structures, the memory of Tyre's once great civilization lingered, and its ruins began to accumulate a mystique that would persist through the ages. In the centuries that followed, Tyre's ancient city center slowly disappeared beneath the layers of later constructions. The city, with its grand temples, its palaces, and its bustling marketplaces, was buried beneath the sands of time. While modern excavations have uncovered parts of this lost city, its famed necropolis, the remnants of its harbors, and the foundation of its temples, much of it remains hidden, locked away in a puzzle of architectural remains and faded inscriptions. The most famous of these discoveries is the Temple of Melqart, dedicated to the Phoenician god of the sea, who was said to be the protector of Tyre. Here, the mystery deepens. What secrets did this temple once hold? And what of the cults, the rituals, and the beliefs that shaped the lives of Tyre's people? As we sift through the ruins of Tyre, we find ourselves confronted by an interesting paradox. On one hand, we have a wealth of ancient texts, writings from classical historians like Herodotus and Pliny the Elder, describing Tyre's opulence, its innovations, and its role in shaping Mediterranean trade. These accounts tell a vivid story of a thriving city-state that once commanded immense respect and power. On the other hand, we are left with an overwhelming silence about the city's later years, after the destruction of the temple, after the fall of its walls, and after its eventual decline into obscurity. How is it that a city of such renown could vanish from the historical record with so little explanation? Was it merely a victim of changing empires, or was there something more to its fall? Some scholars have suggested that Tyre's decline could be linked to the very thing that made it great, its reliance on the sea. As trade routes shifted and new powers emerged in the ancient world, Tyre's strategic importance may have waned. The rise of Alexandria and the shift in naval power to the Greeks and Romans could have signaled the end of Tyre's maritime dominance. Could Tyre's fall be seen as the inevitable result of changing tides in history, or was something more mysterious at play? Intriguingly, there are also alternative theories that suggest Tyre's collapse may have been caused by forces beyond mere geopolitical shifts. Some have speculated that the city's ultimate downfall could have been tied to a series of natural disasters. Earthquakes, tsunamis, or even a volcanic eruption could have played a role in hastening the decline of this once mighty city. The Phoenicians were known for their knowledge of the natural world, but could they have foreseen the cataclysms that befell them? Did the gods of Tyre, who were said to protect the city, abandon their people? Or was Tyre's fate the result of some other, unknowable force? There is another theory, far more speculative, that suggests the fall of Tyre was part of a larger, more enigmatic pattern, a pattern that may have linked it to other ancient cities lost to history. The idea is that Tyre's ultimate destruction was not merely the result of war or nature, but something far more cryptic. Some propose that there was a deeper, metaphysical reason for Tyre's fall, perhaps something tied to the very soul of the Phoenician civilization. Did Tyre's elite, with their esoteric knowledge and advanced technology, know something that we are yet to understand? Could the city's demise have been an intentional sacrifice, a way of leaving behind a legacy that would survive only in the form of fragmented memories? Despite the wealth of archaeological evidence, the true nature of Tyre's loss remains elusive. While parts of its ancient structures have been uncovered, much of the city lies buried beneath the modern settlement, and its full story remains locked away in the depths of time. And what of the city's fate? Was Tyre simply a victim of circumstance, or was there a deeper, more profound mystery at play? Could the ancient city, with its sacred temples, its merchant fleets, and its enigmatic rites, have hidden secrets that have yet to be uncovered? As we leave the ruins of Tyre behind, we are left with the haunting realization that, despite our best efforts to piece together its story, much of the city's history remains obscured by time, weather, and perhaps even the very forces that shaped its rise and fall. The lost Phoenician city of Tyre remains, for now, just that, a mystery locked away in the stones, the waves, and the silence of the ancient world. As we shift our focus to another pivotal aspect of Phoenician history, we turn our attention to a discovery that has intrigued scholars and historians for centuries: the Phoenician stone tablets. These relics, weathered by time and the elements, hold within them not only the written history of a civilization, but also a mystery that continues to defy easy explanation. The stone tablets, carved with intricate inscriptions and symbols, offer a glimpse into the depths of Phoenician culture, but they also challenge our understanding of their language, beliefs, and the very purpose of these ancient artifacts. The first glimpse of these ancient tablets often takes place in the dry, sun-bleached landscapes of the Mediterranean, near the remains of once thriving Phoenician cities like Byblos, Sidon, and Tyre. As the wind shifts the sands, sometimes the faintest outline of an inscription emerges, hinting at something greater beneath the surface. Phoenician stone tablets were not merely functional objects, but vessels of knowledge, with inscriptions that carry with them a weight that seems almost sacred. Some were used for trade agreements, while others bore religious texts, and still others are believed to have served as markers for ancient rituals or memorials for the dead. The most famous of these tablets is perhaps the Byblos tablet, discovered in the ancient city of Byblos in the 1920s. Carved in a script that bears a striking resemblance to early versions of the Phoenician alphabet, it is one of the earliest examples of the script believed to have influenced modern alphabets. The writing, though partially eroded by time, speaks to us across millennia, hinting at the Phoenician mastery over language and their role as pioneers of written communication. For centuries, scholars have pondered the exact nature of these inscriptions, how much of the script was understood by their contemporaries, and how much remains undecoded today. While many Phoenician inscriptions have been successfully translated, some remain enigmatic, with certain characters and phrases still resistant to the best efforts of linguists. What makes these stone tablets so compelling is their dual nature. On one hand, they offer us a window into the pragmatic aspects of Phoenician society, trade transactions, political decrees, and memorials, but on the other, they suggest a deeper, more cryptic layer of meaning. Were these inscriptions mere records of daily life, or did they contain something more profound? Could the Phoenician scribes have embedded secret codes, hidden messages, or religious symbols that only a select few could understand? The mystery deepens when we consider the possibility that some of these tablets were not just written documents, but ceremonial objects, used in rituals of profound significance. The Phoenicians, as we know, were deeply involved in religious practices, particularly those dedicated to their gods, such as Baal, Melqart, and Astarte. It is possible that some of the tablets we have discovered were created to serve as conduits for invoking divine powers or to commemorate sacred events. Inscriptions that seem incomprehensible to modern eyes could have been part of sacred rites designed to secure divine favor or to protect against dark forces. As scholars continue to study the tablets, an intriguing question arises. What purpose did these particular texts serve in their original context? Were they simply meant to record transactions, or were they designed to communicate with forces beyond the mortal realm? Did the inscriptions carry a divine charge, as some have speculated, imbuing the stone itself with power? The very act of carving into stone, an indelible medium, could have been an expression of permanence, an attempt to record and control knowledge in a way that transcended the limitations of ordinary life. And yet, despite our growing understanding of the Phoenician script and culture, there are still aspects of these tablets that remain elusive, their full meaning hidden in plain sight. One particularly fascinating aspect of Phoenician stone tablets is their connection to the broader Mediterranean world. While Phoenicia was a center of trade and culture, its influence stretched far beyond its coastal cities. Phoenician colonies like Carthage in North Africa and Gadir, modern Cadiz, in Spain, were vital points on the ancient maritime trade routes. And in many of these distant locations, Phoenician inscriptions have been discovered, carved into stone and left behind as markers of their presence. These tablets are not isolated. They form a network of communication across the ancient Mediterranean, offering clues to the far-reaching influence of Phoenician culture. What remains particularly tantalizing is the thought that there may still be undiscovered tablets hidden in uncharted areas of the Mediterranean or beneath the waves of the sea itself. Could there be forgotten ruins submerged in the depths, holding tablets that could unlock new secrets about the Phoenician world? The Phoenician maritime network was vast, and much of it has been lost to the ocean. Could these tablets, still buried in ancient shipwrecks or forgotten ruins, be waiting to reveal further mysteries? In some instances, discoveries have been made of stone tablets that suggest a dual purpose, blending the pragmatic and the mystical. Inscriptions found in the temple complexes of ancient Phoenician cities, such as the remains of the Temple of Melqart at Tyre, hint at the possibility that these tablets may have been used not only for civic record-keeping but for spiritual guidance. The idea that these tablets could have served as talismans or magical objects is an intriguing one, especially when we consider the high level of craftsmanship involved in their creation. Could the Phoenicians, renowned for their craftsmanship and artistry, have embedded hidden symbols or even encoded knowledge into their stonework? The more we explore these enigmatic artifacts, the more we are faced with questions that continue to evade definitive answers. The role of these stone tablets in Phoenician society remains a matter of intense speculation. Were they intended solely as functional tools for administrative purposes, or were they designed to communicate something far more esoteric? The idea that these stone relics could hold knowledge that has been lost to time and that it might still be waiting to be uncovered is both exhilarating and unsettling. Despite centuries of research and excavation, there is still much we don't know about the true purpose of the Phoenician stone tablets. Was the Phoenician script simply a vehicle for communication, or was there a hidden layer of meaning embedded in their carvings? Some scholars have speculated that the Phoenicians may have used these tablets as part of a larger network of spiritual knowledge, tied to their mysterious rituals and beliefs. Were these tablets just a method of recording history, or were they part of something much more profound? As we reflect on the mystery of the Phoenician stone tablets, we are reminded that, despite the progress we have made in uncovering the secrets of this ancient civilization, much of what the Phoenicians knew remains locked away. The tablets that have survived time and the elements still hold secrets that have not been fully revealed. What hidden meanings lie within the inscriptions that have yet to be deciphered? What knowledge was passed down through these sacred objects, and what truths could they still be hiding from us? As the shadows lengthen across the ancient shores of the Mediterranean, the quiet remains of Phoenician temples, buried beneath layers of time, stand as silent witnesses to the once mighty civilization that built them. Their towering columns have crumbled. Their statues lie shattered on the earth, but one aspect of Phoenician life continues to evoke fascination. An enigmatic group of figures who may have held the key to understanding the hidden secrets of the ancient world, the Phoenician priests. These individuals, often depicted as the high-ranking guardians of spiritual and societal knowledge, were thought to wield immense power over the lives of the people they served. They were not only intermediaries between mortals and the gods, but also keepers of sacred wisdom, much of which remains shrouded in mystery to this day. The Phoenician priesthood is a subject that has long intrigued scholars, yet despite their undeniable importance in Phoenician society, little is definitively known about the rituals they performed or the knowledge they guarded. The most famous of these priests were those who served at the great temples of Phoenician cities like Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. The Temple of Melqart at Tyre, for example, is believed to have been the center of religious life, its priests overseeing elaborate ceremonies dedicated to Melqart, the Phoenician god of the underworld and protector of the city. But what exactly these rituals entailed and how they shaped the Phoenician worldview is a subject that still eludes full understanding. Picture the setting. A bustling city on the coast, filled with traders from distant lands, sailors who had crossed the vastness of the Mediterranean, and craftsmen producing goods coveted across the ancient world. Amidst this vibrant scene, the priests retreated into the temples, ancient structures adorned with inscriptions and decorated with sacred symbols. Here, in this hallowed space, they were entrusted with maintaining the balance between the earthly and the divine. They performed sacred rites, made offerings to the gods, and, it is said, passed down knowledge of the heavens and the earth that had been encoded into their sacred texts. Yet, despite their central role in Phoenician religious life, we are left with only tantalizing glimpses of what these priests might have known. Much of the evidence surrounding their practices has been lost or erased by time, and what remains is often fragmented and enigmatic. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts and inscriptions that suggest the Phoenician priests were deeply involved in both ritual and astronomical studies, using the stars to guide their prayers and offerings. Some inscriptions hint at a knowledge of the movements of the heavens far beyond what was previously thought possible for their time. Were these priests, in their devotion, deciphering celestial codes that we have yet to fully comprehend? The most compelling mystery surrounding the Phoenician priesthood, however, is the possible existence of hidden knowledge. Wisdom not meant for the general populace, but reserved solely for these sacred guardians. Could the priests have possessed ancient secrets about the origins of their civilization? Or even more profound knowledge about the cosmos, encoded in their rituals and writings? Some historians have suggested that the Phoenicians, through their complex trade routes, may have encountered ancient wisdom from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and beyond, which they then integrated into their religious practices. What secrets might have been exchanged, and what knowledge might have been kept hidden for centuries? The role of the priesthood in maintaining the Phoenicians' extensive trading network is also worth exploring. As the Phoenicians traversed the seas, establishing colonies and trading outposts, the priests may have played a critical part in negotiations and agreements. The sanctity of their position could have made them influential figures in matters of diplomacy, offering divine sanction to critical pacts and alliances. Their knowledge of astronomy and the stars, which was integral to navigation, may have given them an advantage in ensuring safe voyages across treacherous waters. Was the priesthood, in essence, both spiritual and political? Were these figures instrumental in shaping the destiny of Phoenician city-states, not just through religious rites, but through the very fabric of governance? Despite the limited evidence, there are certain elements of Phoenician priesthood that appear to be consistent across the ancient world. Inscriptions from Phoenician colonies, like those in North Africa and Spain, suggest a network of religious observance that transcended borders. It is as though the priests of Phoenician cities were united by more than just their religious beliefs. They may have been part of an interconnected web of knowledge that spanned the vast reaches of the Mediterranean. Some speculate that these priests were responsible for the transmission of esoteric teachings, passed down through sacred texts and rituals, which could have included knowledge of alchemy, astrology, and sacred geometry. Could these teachings have been the foundation of later mystical traditions in the ancient world? One of the most perplexing aspects of Phoenician religious practice is their relationship with death and the afterlife. The Phoenicians, like many ancient cultures, believed in an afterlife, and their rituals often centered around the idea of securing a favorable passage for the soul. The Phoenician priests were the custodians of this knowledge, performing rites intended to appease the gods and guide the deceased through the realms of the dead. The tombs they built, as well as the offerings made to the gods, suggest a complex belief system centered around the transition from life to death. Were these rites connected to deeper, more ancient practices, possibly linked to Egyptian or Mesopotamian traditions? And could they have known secrets about death, the soul, and the cosmos that have been lost to time? The most compelling and enduring question is whether the Phoenician priests may have passed on knowledge to later civilizations. Some theorists propose that the Phoenician priests were the direct influencers of other ancient religious traditions, including the early mysteries of the Greek and Roman worlds. Could the rituals they performed in the temples of Tyre and Sidon have found their way into the religious practices of later civilizations, carrying with them hidden wisdom encoded in sacred rites? Did the mystery schools of Greece and the oracles of Delphi share a common heritage with the Phoenician priesthood? The connections between these traditions remain speculative, but the idea that the Phoenician priests played a role in shaping the spiritual practices of the ancient world is a tantalizing possibility. What is clear, however, is that the mystery surrounding the Phoenician priesthood remains unsolved. Despite centuries of excavation, no definitive record exists that fully explains their role, their rituals, or the knowledge they guarded. All that remains are fragments, inscriptions, artifacts, and the faintest whispers of the sacred ceremonies they once performed. As we continue to explore the enigmatic world of the Phoenician priests, one thing becomes certain: the secrets they protected are as elusive today as they were millennia ago. What was hidden in the dark recesses of their temples? What knowledge did they guard so carefully, and why? The answers may remain lost forever, hidden in the sands of time. But as long as their mysteries persist, the question lingers: what was the true nature of the ancient wisdom they preserved, and what might it still reveal? Nestled on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean, the ancient city of Tyre rises out of the waves like a monument to both grandeur and mystery. Once a thriving hub of commerce and culture, Tyre's towering walls and majestic temples have long since crumbled, yet its legacy endures in the whispers of the wind, the crumbling ruins, and the enigmatic history of its greatest king, Hiram I. This ruler, whose name is etched into both Phoenician and biblical records, remains one of the most fascinating and elusive figures of the ancient world. Hiram I is often remembered as the king who oversaw the peak of Tyre's power during the 10th century BCE. His reign is marked by remarkable feats of diplomacy, architecture, and trade, yet much of his life is shrouded in uncertainty. The city of Tyre, under his leadership, became a beacon of Phoenician influence, its ships sailing far and wide, carrying not just goods, but cultural and spiritual ideas that would echo throughout the ancient world. But what do we truly know about this king, and what secrets might remain buried beneath the sands of time? The city of Tyre itself was a marvel of ancient engineering, built upon a small island off the coast of modern-day Lebanon, with walls that seemed to defy nature's limits. The Phoenicians, with their renowned skills in shipbuilding and navigation, had created a city capable of dominating the Mediterranean trade routes. The streets were lined with luxurious shops, and the scent of exotic spices and precious metals filled the air. But it was the palace of King Hiram I, the heart of the city where the true power of his reign emanated. Hiram's palace, built atop the island, was more than just a residence. It was a symbol of divine right and political prowess. It was said to be adorned with gold and precious stones, its walls inscribed with the ancient symbols of Phoenician gods. But as magnificent as it was, this palace was also a place of mystery. Much like the king himself, it was a place that was as much legend as it was reality. Historians have long debated the true extent of its grandeur, as well as the role Hiram played in shaping the fate of Tyre. Was he a mere ruler, or did he possess knowledge and power far beyond his time? One of the most enduring and mysterious aspects of Hiram's reign is his legendary role in the construction of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. According to biblical accounts, Hiram entered into a remarkable alliance with Solomon, the king of Israel, to build the temple that would become the center of Jewish worship. The Phoenician king, known for his expertise in architecture and craftsmanship, sent skilled workers and materials to Jerusalem, including cedar wood from the forests of Lebanon, an invaluable commodity in the ancient world. But the nature of Hiram's involvement in this monumental project raises questions. Was his aid purely diplomatic, or did he have deeper, more personal motives for assisting Solomon in the construction of the temple? Some scholars have suggested that the collaboration between Hiram and Solomon may have been part of a broader, ancient connection between the Phoenicians and the Israelites, one that involved shared religious knowledge or even mystical secrets. Did Hiram, with his access to the great architectural wonders of his time, possess knowledge of hidden rituals or sacred practices that could have influenced the temple's design? Inscriptions and archaeological evidence from the period suggest that both kings, Hiram and Solomon, may have been involved in a complex web of political, religious, and esoteric alliances. Was the construction of Solomon's temple more than just a grand architectural endeavor? Could it have been an initiation into deeper, more arcane knowledge? Knowledge that Hiram and his priests held sacred? Hiram was not just a king of great architectural and religious influence, but also a political mastermind. Under his reign, Tyre flourished not just as a commercial center, but also as a political force that rivaled the great empires of the ancient world. He was a shrewd negotiator, leveraging Tyre's strategic location to form alliances with neighboring kingdoms and city-states. Through these alliances, Hiram I extended the reach of Phoenician power, securing trade routes and ensuring the survival of his city amidst an ever-changing geopolitical landscape. But beneath this diplomatic success lay a series of questions that have yet to be fully answered. How much of Hiram's success was due to his innate political acumen, and how much was influenced by hidden forces, be they religious, esoteric, or even supernatural? Some researchers suggest that Hiram's ability to maintain power was, in part, due to his access to ancient knowledge that gave him an edge over his contemporaries. Could he have been privy to wisdom that extended beyond the material world? Knowledge that allowed him to navigate the complex political landscape with an almost otherworldly skill? As Tyre's power grew, so too did its influence on neighboring civilizations. The Phoenicians, under Hiram's rule, became known not only as expert traders, but also as carriers of knowledge, art, and religious practices. But what secrets did Hiram hold, and what knowledge did he share with his allies? Some have suggested that the king was a master of a form of spiritual or mystical knowledge, possibly passed down from ancient Egyptian or Mesopotamian traditions. Was there a secret society at play, one that shaped the political and spiritual future of the Mediterranean world? Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding King Hiram I is his death and the succession of his rule. While it is known that Hiram reigned for many years, details about his death are scant, and little is known about how the transition of power occurred. His son, Baal-Esar, is believed to have succeeded him, but the absence of detailed records surrounding Hiram's final years leaves much to speculation. Was Hiram's death a natural one, or was there something more behind it? Some have proposed that the king's passing may have been a catalyst for the rise of a more secretive and esoteric group of rulers, ones who continued to hold power in Tyre but under different, more mysterious circumstances. Could Hiram have been involved in a larger cosmic plan, one that extended beyond his earthly reign? And did his death signify the end of an era of open power, ushering in a time of shadowy influence where the true rulers of Tyre operated in the background? Hiram left behind a legacy that continues to captivate historians and archaeologists to this day. The city of Tyre, his magnificent temple, and the alliance with King Solomon are just some of the traces he left in the ancient world. Yet much remains unsolved. What were the true motivations behind Hiram's alliance with Solomon? Was there more to his reign than mere diplomacy? Did he possess ancient knowledge that influenced not just the Phoenicians but also the future of other civilizations? As we piece together the fragments of Hiram I's reign, one thing becomes certain. The mystery of this enigmatic ruler is far from over. What did he know? And how did he wield his power? What secrets remain locked within the ruins of Tyre and the cryptic inscriptions that still elude our understanding? Perhaps, like many ancient mysteries, the answers are hidden beneath layers of history, waiting to be uncovered. For now, Hiram remains a figure who exists somewhere between legend and reality. His true legacy may be something more than the material accomplishments of his reign. It may be found in the whispers of ancient wisdom, hidden in the shadows of time, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. The sun sets over the vast expanse of North Africa, casting a golden glow over the arid landscapes, where ancient secrets lie buried beneath the shifting sands. In this corner of the world, away from the bustling cities of today, there are remnants of a time long forgotten, a time when the Phoenicians, famed for their trade and navigation, established temples dedicated to gods and forces unknown. These hidden Phoenician temples, scattered across the coastlines of modern-day Tunisia, Algeria, and Libya, remain shrouded in mystery, offering only tantalizing glimpses into the spiritual world of a civilization that once ruled the seas. One of the most enigmatic of these sites is the ancient city of Carthage. Founded by Phoenician settlers in the 9th century BCE, Carthage became one of the most powerful cities of the ancient Mediterranean world. But beneath its sprawling urban landscape and impressive harbor, archaeologists have uncovered fragments of an older, darker past, a past steeped in ritual and devotion. It is within these ruins, now buried beneath centuries of history, that the hidden Phoenician temples await discovery. The most notable of these temples is the Temple of Baal, located in the heart of Carthage itself. Standing atop a low hill overlooking the city, the temple's ruins have been partially excavated, revealing its monumental size and architectural splendor. Baal, the chief god of Carthage and the Phoenician pantheon, was worshipped here, offering sacrifices, incense, and elaborate rituals meant to invoke his favor. The temple, dedicated to the god of fertility and the sky, was a focal point of Carthaginian religious life, drawing pilgrims from far and wide to pay homage. What makes this temple particularly fascinating is the method of worship associated with it. The Carthaginians, like their Phoenician ancestors, practiced a form of religious devotion that seems unusual to modern sensibilities, the sacrifice of children. While the practice has been debated for centuries, archaeological evidence suggests that the Carthaginians may have conducted rituals in which children were offered to the gods as a way to secure their protection or favor. The discovery of burial urns containing the remains of infants and young children near the temple site raises questions about the nature of these rituals. Were these sacrifices an essential part of Phoenician religious belief, or were they an invention of later Carthaginian practices? As we turn our attention further east, the mystery deepens. Across the sea from Carthage, along the North African coast, lies the ancient site of Kirkwane. A Phoenician city dating back to the 6th century BCE, Kirkwane is one of the best preserved Phoenician settlements in the Mediterranean. Here, amidst the well-laid-out streets and buildings, lies another significant discovery: a series of temples and altars dedicated to deities whose names are lost to time. One such temple, uncovered during excavations in the 1970s, is thought to have been dedicated to the Phoenician goddess Astarte. Astarte, also known as Ashtart, was the goddess of love, war, and fertility, and her worship was central to Phoenician spiritual practices. The ruins of her temple at Kirkwani reveal a complex of structures, including altars, stone basins, and ritualistic markings, suggesting a place of great significance. But what is particularly intriguing about this site is the lack of definitive evidence regarding how Astarte was worshipped here. Was she honored with offerings and prayers, or were there darker rituals, perhaps similar to those at Carthage, involving blood sacrifice or other mysterious rites? Further exploration of the temple complex at Kirkwani also reveals a series of inscriptions, fragments of ancient texts, that suggest the Phoenicians may have used the temple for purposes beyond religious devotion. Some scholars speculate that these sites also functioned as places of esoteric knowledge, where the priests and priestesses of Phoenician religion passed on sacred teachings. Could these temples have been centers of ancient wisdom, repositories of secrets about the stars, the universe, and the gods? If so, what knowledge did they guard, and why has it remained so elusive? As the search for Phoenician temples continues along the coast of North Africa, one of the most intriguing aspects is the scarcity of large monumental structures. Unlike the Egyptians, whose towering pyramids and grand temples are easily recognizable, the Phoenicians seem to have favored more subtle, understated places of worship. The temples that have been uncovered are often small, inconspicuous buildings, sometimes built directly into the natural landscape. This has led some researchers to speculate that Phoenician religion was not just a public affair, but one that involved private rituals and secret knowledge. Could these hidden temples have served as sanctuaries for a select few, guardians of ancient wisdom passed down through the ages? Among the most fascinating sites is the so-called Temple of the Child in the ancient city of Tharos on the island of Sardinia, which was once part of Phoenician territory. While the site is not as well known as Carthage or Kirkwani, it has been the subject of much speculation. What is unique about the Temple of the Child is its association with a peculiar altar that appears to have been designed specifically for offering sacrifices. The altar, shaped like a small basin, is said to have been used for burning incense and possibly other ritual substances. Yet, it is the nearby remains of child-sized skeletons that have sparked the most intrigue. Was this site dedicated to Astarte, as some believe, or was it a center for more arcane and obscure Phoenician practices? The Phoenician temples scattered throughout North Africa offer more questions than answers, their mysteries lingering in the shadows of history. How did the Phoenicians view their gods? What kind of power did these temples hold over the people? Were these sacred spaces truly places of worship, or were they also hubs for the transmission of secret knowledge? Some researchers suggest that these temples were part of an intricate network of spiritual and intellectual hubs that extended far beyond Phoenician territory, linking ancient cultures in ways that we are only beginning to understand. The question of why so many of these temples remain hidden, buried beneath centuries of sand and rubble, is another enigma. Did the Phoenicians deliberately conceal their most sacred sites, perhaps in an effort to protect their secrets from outsiders? Or were these temples lost to time, only waiting for the right moment to be uncovered? What did the Phoenician priests, those guardians of sacred knowledge, know that they did not want to share with the world? And what, if anything, did they leave behind that still has the power to change our understanding of the ancient world? As we continue to explore these hidden temples, we are reminded that the answers may never fully surface. But the mysteries, as ever, beckon, inviting us to look deeper into the sands of history, to seek the stories that remain untold. As the ancient sun rises over the dry, rocky terrain of Tunisia, Algeria, and Libya, it casts long shadows over the remnants of forgotten civilizations. The ancient Phoenicians, a seafaring people known for their influence across the Mediterranean, left behind something that has intrigued historians and archaeologists for centuries: the cryptic language of the Punic Inscriptions. Etched into stone, these markings offer fragments of a culture long lost to the winds of time, a civilization whose secrets, veiled in a language still only partially understood, have baffled scholars for generations. In the quiet ruins of ancient Carthage, one of the most remarkable cities in the ancient world, these inscriptions remain scattered across monuments, stelae, tombs, and even everyday objects. Each carving, each letter, is a puzzle piece, offering glimpses into the daily lives, religious practices, and power structures of the Phoenicians. The language itself, a branch of the Phoenician alphabet, is both ancient and surprisingly modern. It formed the basis for many later scripts, including Greek and Latin. Yet, despite its influence, the full understanding of Punic inscriptions remains elusive, leaving much of the Phoenician world wrapped in an enigmatic fog. One of the most iconic locations for discovering Punic inscriptions is the Tophet of Carthage, a sacred burial ground that has fascinated researchers for over a century. The Tophet is filled with small stone markers, each engraved with brief texts, offering the names of children and animals sacrificed to the gods. These inscriptions, while seemingly simple, are filled with powerful symbolism, hinting at the religious rituals practiced by the Carthaginians. Some inscriptions bear the name of Baal Hamon, the chief god of the Carthaginian pantheon, while others reference his consort Tanit, the goddess of fertility and the moon. The repetitive nature of these inscriptions suggests that these were not mere tombstones, but part of a larger, ritualistic practice tied to the worship of these deities. But what do these inscriptions truly reveal about the culture of the Phoenicians and their religious practices? While scholars agree on the broad meanings of many of the symbols, the deeper nuances remain a matter of debate. Why did the Carthaginians choose to memorialize their sacrifices in this way? Was it merely a way to mark graves, or did these inscriptions have a more profound purpose, one tied to the unseen world, invoking divine protection or favor? The stark simplicity of these texts raises further questions. Were the names of the sacrificed meant to be read by mortals, or were they whispered into the winds of the divine? As we move from Carthage to the coastal ruins of ancient Utica, a different type of Punic inscription begins to emerge. Unlike the solemn markers of the Tophet, the inscriptions here are found on grander monuments, on walls, and on stelae marking important events or figures. One of the most significant examples is the inscription found at the Temple of Saturn, a towering edifice that once stood proudly on the Mediterranean coast. The inscription, dating back to the 2nd century BCE, commemorates the construction of the temple and offers a glimpse into the complex political and religious dynamics of the time. It speaks of alliances and power struggles, of tribute paid to the gods and promises made by kings and rulers. But what is striking about this inscription is not just its content, but its purpose. Was this inscription meant to be read by future generations, preserving the legacy of the Phoenician people? Or was it a message to the gods, a way of ensuring the favor of higher powers? These inscriptions serve as a reminder that the Phoenicians, often seen through the lens of their seafaring exploits, were also deeply invested in their own spiritual and political identity. Their language, though rooted in the Phoenician alphabet, carries with it layers of meaning, some of which have yet to be fully decoded. The inscriptions found across their territory, on stones, pottery, and even coinage, offer tantalizing glimpses into a civilization that once commanded great power and influence. They are the written echoes of a people who traversed vast distances, not only as traders, but as cultural emissaries, spreading their language, their beliefs, and their mysteries wherever they went. But it is not just the inscriptions on stone that hold the key to the Phoenician world. In the dusty archives of museums and libraries, scholars have uncovered numerous fragments of texts that shed light on the Punic language and its use in both everyday life and in more esoteric contexts. These fragments, often written on papyrus or parchment, are rare treasures that provide clues about the internal workings of Phoenician society. Some are legal documents, offering insight into trade agreements, land ownership, and the rights of citizens. Others are more personal in nature, letters, prayers, or even private messages. Each of these texts offers a new puzzle, a fresh mystery to be unraveled. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Punic inscriptions is their potential connection to the mysterious rituals and secret knowledge of the Phoenician priests. Inscriptions found in various temples and shrines hint at a hidden layer of spiritual practice that is not immediately obvious in the more public-facing aspects of Phoenician religion. Was there a secret, esoteric body of knowledge passed down from priest to priest, encoded in these inscriptions? Did the priests use the Punic language as a way of concealing deeper truths from outsiders? And if so, what might these secrets have been? The connection between the Punic inscriptions and the lost knowledge of the Phoenician priests invites further speculation. Some have suggested that the inscriptions found in sacred spaces were not just religious in nature, but were also encoded with deeper metaphysical or astrological insights. Could the texts on the stone stelae in the Tophet, or the inscriptions in the Temple of Saturn, be clues to a more sophisticated understanding of the cosmos? Were the Phoenicians, known for their navigational prowess, using these inscriptions as a form of astronomical mapping, helping them to track the movements of stars and planets? And could some of these inscriptions be hints at an ancient understanding of time and space that has been lost to us? The mystery deepens when we consider the fact that many of these inscriptions have yet to be fully deciphered. Despite centuries of study, parts of the Punic language remain a puzzle. Some symbols appear to have multiple meanings, while others are entirely unfamiliar to modern scholars. This incomplete understanding of the language only adds to the allure of the Punic inscriptions. What might we learn if we could finally crack the code, revealing the true meanings behind these ancient texts? The fact that much of Phoenician history and language remains shrouded in mystery raises a haunting question. What else remains hidden in the ancient inscriptions scattered across the Mediterranean world? Perhaps more inscriptions, buried beneath layers of earth and time, wait to be uncovered. Perhaps hidden truths, encoded in the language of the Phoenicians, still remain locked away, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Could these texts hold the key to understanding not just the Phoenician world, but the very fabric of ancient knowledge itself? As we continue to explore the mysteries of the Punic inscriptions, we are reminded that the past is not always a clear and simple narrative. It is a complex web of languages, rituals, and beliefs, woven together by a people whose legacy continues to intrigue and mystify us. The inscriptions are not just historical artifacts. They are the whispers of a forgotten world, carrying with them stories that are still waiting to be told. As the warm Mediterranean breeze sweeps across the rugged Tunisian coastline, it carries with it whispers from the past, echoes of a civilization that once ruled the seas and cast its shadow over the ancient world. The ruins of Carthage, once a vibrant city at the heart of the Phoenician Empire, now lay in quiet decay, its stones weathered and eroded by centuries of time. Yet, even in their silence, they hold the secrets of an extraordinary past, a legacy that continues to intrigue and mystify those who come seeking answers. Carthage, founded in the 9th century BCE, was a city of unparalleled wealth, power, and influence. Situated on a narrow peninsula along the shores of the Mediterranean, it was strategically positioned to dominate maritime trade and serve as a thriving hub of commerce and culture. But beyond the bustling harbors, the grand temples, and the imposing walls, Carthage was also a city of complex rituals, fierce political intrigue, and, most famously, the site of one of the most dramatic military confrontations in history, the Punic Wars. Today, the ruins of Carthage stand as a testament to the city's former glory. Yet, as we walk among its ancient foundations, a sense of mystery lingers in the air. What do these remains truly tell us about the people who lived here? What secrets are hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? And perhaps most intriguingly, why does the legacy of Carthage continue to captivate the imagination of scholars, archaeologists, and historians alike? One of the most striking features of Carthage is its location, overlooking the shimmering waters of the Mediterranean, a vast expanse that, in ancient times, was the lifeblood of the Phoenician people. The city's harbor was once a bustling center of trade, where ships from across the Mediterranean and beyond would dock to exchange goods and stories. But it was not just Carthage's wealth that made it a target for envy and intrigue. It was the city's power, its strategic position, and its growing influence that brought it into direct conflict with the mighty Roman Empire. The Punic Wars, a series of 3 brutal conflicts between Carthage and Rome, remain one of the most well-documented chapters of ancient history. The story of Hannibal, the Carthaginian general who famously crossed the Alps with his army and elephants to challenge the Roman legions, has become legendary. But while these wars are often seen through the lens of military strategy and political maneuvering, they also offer glimpses into the deeper cultural and religious practices of the Carthaginians, practices that were often shrouded in secrecy and mysticism. Among the most enigmatic aspects of Carthaginian society were its religious rituals. The Carthaginians were known to worship a pantheon of gods and goddesses, with Baal Haman and Tanit at the center of their spiritual lives. The cult of Tanit, in particular, was said to hold great sway in the city, and evidence of her worship is found throughout the ruins of Carthage. Stelae, altars, and temples dedicated to Tanit have been uncovered, their inscriptions offering cryptic messages that speak of divine favor, sacrifices, and promises to the gods. One of the most chilling aspects of Carthaginian religion was the practice of child sacrifice, a topic that has long been debated and discussed by scholars. Evidence of this ritual has been found in the Tophet, a sacred burial site near Carthage where the remains of children and animals have been uncovered, accompanied by inscriptions that mention offerings to the gods. These discoveries have led to speculation about the nature of the sacrifices, whether they were voluntary, performed in times of crisis, or whether they were a deeply ingrained part of Carthaginian religious life. What motivated a society so advanced and so powerful to engage in such practices? Was it fear, faith, or something more? Beyond the religious and military history, Carthage's architectural legacy also raises intriguing questions. The city's extensive ruins include the remains of grand public buildings, villas, and fortifications, many of which reveal the complexity of Carthaginian urban planning. The city's baths, temples, and marketplaces were all designed with a keen sense of aesthetics and functionality, creating a space where commerce, politics, and religion seamlessly intertwined. But beneath the surface, hidden in the layers of rubble, are the remains of buildings and structures that have yet to be fully explored. The city's harbor, once a bustling center of trade, has also yielded its share of mysteries. Underwater archaeology has uncovered sunken ships, ancient docks, and remnants of maritime infrastructure that speak to the importance of Carthage's naval prowess. Yet, despite the wealth of evidence, many questions remain unanswered. What was the full extent of Carthage's maritime empire? How far did its influence stretch? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what treasures may still lie hidden beneath the waves, waiting to be discovered? As we explore the city, one cannot help but wonder what remains beneath the surface of Carthage's history. Despite the extensive excavations and the wealth of information gathered, much of the city's past is still veiled in mystery. What was it like to walk through the streets of ancient Carthage? What sounds filled the air? Chants of worshippers, the hum of trade, or the thundering march of soldiers preparing for battle? And what stories, lost to time, may yet be hidden in the shadows of Carthage's crumbling walls? Some have suggested that there may be more to Carthage's downfall than what the historical record tells us. The destruction of the city by the Romans in 146 BCE is well documented. But what if the true story of Carthage's fall is more complex? Could there be elements of Carthaginian history, political, cultural, or spiritual, that were deliberately erased, hidden away by those who sought to ensure that the Phoenician influence would be forgotten? As the sun sets over the ancient ruins, the mysteries of Carthage remain ever present, hanging in the air like the faint scent of incense carried by the wind. The city's history, full of triumphs and tragedies, of gods and generals, continues to captivate the imagination of those who seek to uncover the truths hidden within its stones. What we know of Carthage is only a fraction of its true story. Perhaps one day, new discoveries will shed light on its most enigmatic secrets, revealing a side of this ancient city that has remained locked in the shadows for millennia. For now, we are left with the ruins, silent witnesses to a once great civilization that left an indelible mark on the ancient world. What might still be hidden beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered? And what secrets will the next generation of archaeologists, explorers, and historians uncover as they continue to peel back the layers of Carthage's past? As the sun dips behind the rugged hills of the Levantine coast, casting long shadows over the ancient stone structures, a faint hum of the past lingers in the air. In the quiet solitude of the archaeological sites, scattered fragments of Phoenician civilization speak to us in a language of stone, etched with intricate symbols, enigmatic inscriptions, and mesmerizing carvings. These stone carvings, weathered by centuries of wind, rain, and the relentless march of time, are more than just remnants of a lost world. They are the keys to understanding the deeper mysteries of the Phoenicians, those extraordinary seafarers, traders, and craftsmen who shaped much of the ancient Mediterranean world. In the coastal city of Byblos, considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, the carvings on ancient stones serve as silent witnesses to the city's long history. Here, in the crumbling ruins of temples and shrines, stone tablets bearing mysterious symbols have been uncovered. These carvings, which date back thousands of years, offer a glimpse into the spiritual and cultural life of the Phoenicians, but their full meaning has remained a puzzle for scholars. Some of the symbols bear resemblance to other Semitic scripts, while others appear entirely unique, leading researchers to wonder whether they represent a lost form of writing, a code, or perhaps a form of artistic expression that defied categorization. In the heart of Phoenician territory, where cities like Tyre, Sidon, and Carthage once thrived, similar stone carvings have been discovered. Often located in sacred spaces, temples, altars, and funerary monuments, these carvings reveal the deep connection the Phoenicians had with their gods and their ancestors. Some are simple depictions of deities, like the standing figure of Tanit, goddess of fertility and protector of the city, while others are more cryptic, featuring intertwining geometric shapes and abstract symbols. But what purpose did these carvings serve? Were they purely decorative, or did they hold a deeper, more esoteric significance? Were they part of ritual practices, serving as a conduit between the mortal world and the divine? Or did they encode hidden messages known only to the priesthood or elite? One particularly striking set of Phoenician carvings was discovered in the ancient city of Sidon, carved into the rock face of a cliff overlooking the sea. Here, inscriptions are combined with imagery of animals, ships, and mythological scenes. The location of these carvings, high on a cliff and facing the Mediterranean, suggests that they may have served as a form of communication, perhaps to honor the gods or to mark the city's power over the sea. The images of ships, often accompanied by symbols that resemble the Phoenician alphabet, might hint at a deeper connection between the Phoenician maritime prowess and their religious practices. Could these carvings be a testament to the belief that the sea was a realm of both physical and spiritual significance? And could they have been used as a form of ritualistic communication, marking the boundaries between the world of humans and the world of the divine? While many of the carvings are recognizable as representations of everyday life, traders, animals, ships, and religious figures, others are far more perplexing. One such example is the series of carvings found in the necropolis of Carthage, in which stylized figures appear to be engaged in rituals that remain completely obscure. Some scholars speculate that these figures are representations of religious sacrifices or rites of passage, but the exact nature of these ceremonies remains unknown. Did these carvings offer a glimpse into secretive, esoteric practices performed by the Phoenician priesthood? Or were they meant to serve as a form of storytelling, recounting the exploits of gods and kings in a language that was accessible only to the initiated? Adding to the intrigue, there are a number of stone carvings found in the ancient ruins of Phoenician cities that seem to depict scenes not just from their own culture, but from distant lands, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, and even mysterious cultures that have yet to be fully identified. These carvings may offer clues to the Phoenicians' extensive trade networks and their interactions with other ancient civilizations, but they also raise questions about the possible diffusion of ideas, symbols, and religious beliefs. Could these carvings be evidence of Phoenician travelers or emissaries who ventured far beyond their homeland, bringing back stories, gods, and artifacts from distant realms? Or were the Phoenicians themselves influenced by external forces in ways that we have yet to fully understand? One of the most fascinating aspects of Phoenician stone carvings is the presence of what appears to be a symbolic language composed of geometric patterns, abstract motifs, and unfamiliar symbols. These carvings, found on both large monumental stones and smaller personal artifacts, suggest that the Phoenicians had a complex system of communication that extended beyond the written word. While much of the Phoenician script has been deciphered, these carvings remain elusive, defying easy interpretation. Some scholars believe that they could represent an early form of writing, perhaps a precursor to the alphabetic system the Phoenicians are credited with developing. Others argue that they are simply artistic embellishments, with no greater significance than decorative motifs. Still, there are those who suggest that these carvings may encode hidden messages that have been lost to time, but whose meaning might one day be revealed through further study. One particularly compelling theory is that the geometric symbols found on Phoenician stone carvings may relate to an ancient system of navigation. The Phoenicians were known for their unparalleled skill as sailors, and some researchers believe that these carvings could have served as a form of nautical chart or a navigational aid. Could these seemingly abstract patterns be a coded representation of star positions, sea routes, or other vital navigational knowledge passed down through generations of Phoenician mariners? Some of these symbols, when mapped out, even appear to resemble star constellations or compass points, leading to the tantalizing possibility that the Phoenicians encoded their vast maritime knowledge into these carvings, leaving a legacy that could perhaps one day be unlocked by modern explorers and historians. As we examine the many stone carvings left behind by the Phoenicians, we are left with more questions than answers. What were these carvings truly meant to convey? Were they an artistic form of storytelling, a religious tool, or a means of preserving knowledge for future generations? Were they a way to communicate with the gods, or were they part of a secretive code known only to the initiated few? What purpose did they serve in the daily lives of the Phoenicians, and what role did they play in the complex social, political, and religious systems of their time? The mystery of the Phoenician stone carvings remains unsolved, and perhaps that is part of their allure. Each carving is like a piece of a puzzle that, when examined in isolation, seems to offer a tantalizing clue, but when viewed as a whole, the true picture remains elusive. What we do know is that these carvings are a testament to the complexity and sophistication of the Phoenician civilization, a civilization that, even in its decline, continues to leave behind evidence of its brilliance and its mysteries. As the sun sets over the ancient ruins, casting long shadows over the stone walls, one can't help but wonder, what secrets remain hidden within the cryptic carvings of the Phoenicians? And as modern archaeologists and historians continue to piece together the puzzle, will we ever uncover the true meaning behind these ancient symbols, or will they forever remain locked in the sands of time? The sun sets slowly over the ancient ruins of the Phoenician city of Byblos, casting long shadows that stretch across the stone remnants of temples and altars once devoted to the gods. Among these towering stones, there lies an air of mystery, one that whispers through the cracks of time, a forgotten song of worship and sacrifice. The heart of this mystery is Baal, the Phoenician god of storms, fertility, and the elements. His presence echoes through the ancient world, but his true nature, his role in Phoenician society, and the full extent of his worship remain shrouded in enigma. At first glance, Baal might seem like a typical ancient deity, part of the vast pantheon of gods worshipped throughout the Mediterranean. But a closer look reveals that Baal was more than just a god. He was the very embodiment of nature's raw power, the force that governed the seasons, the rains, and the cycles of life and death. In the rugged landscape of the Phoenician coast, where the fertile lands met the unforgiving sea, Baal represented a vital force of life, a god who, according to ancient texts, could summon both the nourishing rains and the terrifying storms. At the heart of Baal's mystery is his temple in Byblos, one of the oldest known Phoenician cities. The temple, though now in ruins, was once a magnificent structure, intricately adorned with carvings and inscriptions that told the stories of the god's power. Here, on the rocky outcrop overlooking the sea, priests and worshippers would have gathered to offer sacrifices, invoking Baal's favor to ensure abundant harvests, successful voyages, and protection from the chaos of nature. It is said that the rituals performed here were nothing short of grand, involving the sacrifice of animals, libations, and even human offerings, all in an attempt to gain the god's favor. But what was it about Baal that made him so central to Phoenician life? Was it his dominion over the elements? Or was there something more profound, something hidden in the mysteries of his worship that drew the Phoenicians to him? The importance of Baal is further underscored by the many representations of him found in Phoenician art and inscriptions. In these ancient depictions, Baal is often shown as a muscular figure wielding a thunderbolt or a club, symbols of his dominion over the storms. His image was a powerful one, evoking awe and fear in equal measure. But it's not just his physical representations that intrigue scholars. It's the stories surrounding him. One of the most well-known myths is the tale of Baal's battle with Mot, the god of death. In this myth, Baal, after bringing forth the rains and ensuring the fertility of the land, is eventually struck down by Mot, only to be resurrected once more. This cycle of death and rebirth mirrors the very cycles of nature, the rains that come and go, the harvests that are born and wither away, and the ever-present threat of destruction that looms over all life. But why did the Phoenicians see in Baal such an all-encompassing figure, one whose power could both nurture and destroy? And why, in many ancient texts, does Baal appear to be a god in constant conflict, a deity locked in an eternal struggle with death and chaos? Further complicating the image of Baal are the various interpretations of his role across different Phoenician cities. In Byblos, he was a god of fertility and prosperity, his power directly tied to the growth of crops and the success of trade. In Tyre, he was associated with maritime power and protection, and his temples there were often situated close to the sea, where sailors would invoke his name before embarking on dangerous voyages. Yet, in other Phoenician centers, such as Carthage, Baal's nature seemed to take on darker, more mysterious undertones. Here, Baal became associated not just with fertility and storms, but with war and conquest. His image was often entwined with that of the warrior, and his worship included not only the usual offerings, but also the darker rites of child sacrifice, a practice that remains one of the most controversial and debated aspects of Phoenician religion. What could explain the shift in Baal's worship from a life-giving deity to one associated with destruction and death? Was it the need for a god who could bring victory in battle as well as life in the fields? As we delve deeper into the rituals surrounding Baal, the question of sacrifice looms large. Ancient texts, including the Hebrew Bible, speak of Baal worship as a practice that involved not only the sacrifice of animals, but also, in some cases, the sacrifice of children. The most infamous of these rites were carried out in the shadow of Baal's temples, where fires burned in honor of the god. These sacrifices, which have become synonymous with Phoenician religious practice in the minds of many, continue to spark debate among historians and archaeologists. Some argue that these sacrifices were exaggerated or misinterpreted by later cultures, while others maintain that they were a central, albeit secretive, part of Baal worship. But why would a civilization that valued trade, exploration, and artistic achievement engage in such practices? Was it truly a desperate appeal for favor? Or could there have been a deeper, more symbolic reason behind the offerings to Baal? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence surrounding Baal's worship is the discovery of his temple in Carthage, where the ruins of an altar, thought to have been used for sacrifices, have been unearthed. This site, located in the heart of the ancient city, offers a glimpse into the scale of Baal's significance to the Phoenicians, particularly those in Carthage. The altar is striking in its design, with a wide, flat stone surface that would have been used to lay offerings, both animal and human, in front of Baal's statue. Around the altar, the remains of thousands of urns containing the ashes of sacrificed children were discovered, a chilling reminder of the lengths to which the Phoenicians went to appease their gods. Yet, even as these findings confirm the darker aspects of Baal worship, they also raise more questions. Were these sacrifices acts of devotion, or were they part of a more complex symbolic ritual, one that sought to bridge the gap between life and death, fertility and destruction? The mystery of Baal is compounded by the lack of written records about his worship. Unlike the gods of Greece or Rome, who were immortalized in epic poetry and philosophical texts, Baal's true nature was recorded only in fragments, inscriptions on stone tablets, scattered references in ancient texts, and the remnants of his temples. This lack of detailed narrative leaves us with only the raw material of his worship, open to interpretation and speculation. What did it mean to worship Baal in the context of Phoenician society? How did his worship shape their worldview, and how did it influence their approach to life, trade, and war? Was Baal simply a god of nature, or did he serve as a symbol for something greater, a deeper understanding of the cycles of life and death, of the interplay between creation and destruction? The mysteries of Baal remain, as they have for millennia, partially hidden beneath the layers of time. His name appears in ancient texts, his image carved into stone, and his temples rise from the dust of the Phoenician cities. But the full extent of his power, his meaning, and his role in Phoenician culture is still not entirely clear. What we do know is that Baal was a god of immense importance, a god whose presence loomed large in the lives of the Phoenicians. shaping their beliefs, their rituals, and perhaps even their fate. As we stand at the edge of these ancient ruins, gazing out over the quiet Mediterranean, the question remains, what does Baal represent to us today? Is he merely a shadow of a forgotten past, or is there something more to his worship, something hidden in the storms and the silence of the ancient world that still calls out to us from the depths of time? As the Mediterranean sun dips below the horizon, casting a soft golden glow over the ancient city of Tyre, the sound of waves crashing against the rocky shore is accompanied by the faint rustle of something much older, the delicate sound of centuries-old treasures buried deep within the earth. Among these treasures are objects that have captivated archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters alike for centuries, the intricate, bejeweled creations of the Phoenicians. These jewels, more than mere adornments, seem to carry within them stories of gods, kings, and a society that flourished long before the rise of empires and the dawn of written history. Phoenician jewelry, from its elaborate necklaces and bracelets to its meticulously crafted rings and pendants, was not only a symbol of wealth and status, but also a window into a deeply symbolic world. The designs and materials used were often far more than aesthetic choices. They were infused with meaning, with hidden symbolism that spoke to the wearer's identity, their spiritual beliefs, and their connection to the gods. But what hidden stories lie beneath the glittering surface of these artifacts? What mysteries might the jewels of the Phoenicians still be holding on to, centuries after they were first worn? The ancient city of Byblos, one of the earliest and most important Phoenician cities, provides a glimpse into this enigmatic world of Phoenician adornment. Among the thousands of artifacts uncovered in the city's necropolis are exquisite pieces of jewelry, some simple and others shockingly intricate. Many of these treasures, composed of gold, silver, and semi-precious stones, reveal the artistry and craftsmanship of a civilization that had long mastered the delicate art of metalworking and gemstone cutting. Yet, these jewels are not simply beautiful objects. They are laden with meaning. The use of certain materials, the choice of symbols, and even the techniques used to create them all point to a deeper layer of significance, one that seems to transcend mere ornamentation. For example, some pieces feature motifs of animals, lions, serpents, and birds, that seem to echo the natural world and the power structures of Phoenician society. The serpent, in particular, appears frequently in Phoenician jewelry. In some cultures, serpents are symbols of rebirth or transformation, but in the Phoenician world, they were often associated with the god Baal and the forces of chaos and creation. The choice of the serpent as a motif might therefore suggest a spiritual connection between the wearer and the god, a form of protection or blessing. This symbolic use of animals in jewelry raises a question. Were these adornments simply expressions of wealth, or did they serve as talismans, objects of power, protection, and influence, imbued with divine energy? Similarly, the presence of certain gemstones within Phoenician jewelry carries its own set of mysteries. The Phoenicians had access to a wide variety of precious stones, many of which were imported from distant lands. Amethyst, turquoise, lapis lazuli, and carnelian were often found in their jewelry, each one believed to carry specific powers. Amethyst, for instance, was thought to protect against intoxication and was associated with clarity of mind, while lapis lazuli, a stone that gleamed with the deep blue of the night sky, was believed to bring wisdom and spiritual insight. These gemstones were more than mere aesthetic choices. They were believed to contain magical properties, capable of protecting the wearer or enhancing their personal attributes. The question remains, however, how did the Phoenicians come to understand and harness the mystical properties of these stones? Were they following ancient knowledge passed down through generations, or was there something more, perhaps a secret knowledge about the properties of the earth and its elements? The hidden symbolism of Phoenician jewelry is not just confined to the animals and gemstones used, but extends into the very craftsmanship of the pieces. In some cases, jewelry was created with intricate patterns, often interwoven with spirals, circles, and triangles. These patterns are not simply decorative, but are believed to have deeper, more sacred meanings. In many ancient cultures, these shapes were associated with cosmic forces, the cycles of life, and the elements themselves. The spiral, for example, is a symbol that can represent the cyclical nature of time, of birth, death, and rebirth, while the triangle may have represented the trinity of heaven, earth, and sea, a concept deeply rooted in Phoenician cosmology. By wearing such pieces, the Phoenicians were perhaps aligning themselves with these cosmic forces, embracing the rhythms of the universe, and signaling their connection to the divine. However, not all Phoenician jewelry was worn for spiritual reasons. In fact, much of it was used as a display of wealth and power. The wealthy elites of Phoenician society adorned themselves with opulent pieces, massive gold necklaces, elaborate bracelets, and rings set with rare gemstones, demonstrating their status and influence. For the Phoenician merchant class, jewelry also served as a form of currency, a means of trade, and a symbol of the connections they had forged across the Mediterranean. In this sense, jewelry was not only an expression of individual status, but also a reflection of the broader economic and social networks that the Phoenicians had cultivated. They were master traders, and their jewelry, often traded or gifted to foreign elites, became a symbol of their global reach and influence. One of the most intriguing aspects of Phoenician jewelry is its connection to their religious practices. As with many ancient cultures, the Phoenicians believed that their gods could be influenced or appeased through ritual offerings. Jewelry, in this sense, may have been used not just as personal adornment, but as a form of divine tribute. Some of the jewelry found in Phoenician tombs shows signs of being worn during rituals, pieces that are highly symbolic, often inscribed with prayers or invocations to the gods. These sacred adornments may have been intended to ensure the protection of the soul in the afterlife, or to offer blessings for the living. But what exactly were these rituals? What did they entail, and how did the jewelry play a role in them? The mysteries surrounding these religious practices remain, as most of the Phoenician religious texts and rituals have been lost to time. Yet these objects, still gleaming with their ancient magic, offer us the tantalizing possibility that the answers lie within their delicate forms. Yet, despite the richness of the Phoenician jewelry we have uncovered, there is much that remains unexplained. Many of the most beautiful and intricate pieces were found in tombs, suggesting that they were made not just for the living, but also for the dead. What role did jewelry play in the burial practices of the Phoenicians? Was it simply a way to honor the deceased, or was there a belief that these objects could accompany the soul into the afterlife, offering protection or favor from the gods? Archaeologists have found that some of the jewelry was carefully placed on the bodies of the dead, as though it were a gift for the journey ahead. But were these objects of personal significance, or did they serve a greater cosmic purpose in the grand scheme of Phoenician religion? As we continue to unearth these pieces, we are left with a growing sense of mystery. Phoenician jewelry was more than just a form of personal adornment. It was a statement of power, an offering to the gods, and a symbol of the wearer's place in the cosmic order. It connected the wearer to forces beyond their understanding, forces of nature, of life, of death, and of the divine. Yet, even as we uncover more about these magnificent artifacts, we are left with questions that continue to elude us. What did the Phoenicians truly believe about the power of their jewelry? How deeply were these adornments intertwined with their spiritual and social lives? The answers, as with so much of Phoenician history, are hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps the true mystery of Phoenician jewelry lies not in the objects themselves, but in the stories and beliefs that they continue to represent. A glimpse into a world of ancient knowledge, of a people who saw in their jewelry not just beauty, but a deep connection to the divine. What, then, might still lie buried, waiting to reveal itself to those who are willing to search beyond the surface? The ancient city of Tyre, located along the rugged shores of the Mediterranean, has long been associated with the Phoenicians' mastery over the seas and their insatiable appetite for trade. Yet, there is another legacy of the Phoenicians, one that has left its mark not on the architecture of cities or the tombs of kings, but on the very fabric of the ancient world. It is a legacy of color, of purple. For centuries, the Phoenicians were known for their ability to produce one of the most coveted and expensive dyes in history, a rich and vivid hue that would come to symbolize power, wealth, and divine authority: Phoenician purple. The dye itself was a mysterious substance, harvested from the murex sea snail that thrived along the coasts of Phoenicia. As you walk along the shores of modern-day Lebanon, you might imagine the ancients gathering these snails, carefully extracting their fluid, and then turning it into a color so striking that it would eventually become synonymous with royalty. In fact, the word purple itself, in many ancient languages, has roots tied directly to the Phoenicians, who were the masters of its production. This color was so precious that it was said to be worth its weight in gold, and in the Mediterranean world, it became the exclusive domain of kings, emperors, and gods. But how did the Phoenicians unlock the secret of this remarkable dye? What was it about the murex snail that could produce a color so vivid and enduring, and why did it hold such power over the imaginations of ancient civilizations? The process of creating Phoenician purple was as enigmatic as the color itself. The murex snails were carefully harvested, and their glands were extracted to release the precious dye. This secretion, which began as a pale yellowish liquid, underwent a dramatic transformation when exposed to sunlight and air, gradually turning into a deep, rich purple. This intricate process, difficult, time-consuming, and requiring expert knowledge, was shrouded in mystery. Even today, the exact methods used by the Phoenicians remain somewhat elusive, despite modern attempts to replicate their techniques. How did they discover this extraordinary transformation? And why did they choose to invest so much effort into its production, given the challenges involved? The dye was produced in large quantities, but it was not just the production process that was shrouded in secrecy. The dye itself was imbued with a sense of mysticism. The symbolism of purple in the ancient world cannot be overstated. In Phoenician society, as well as in the wider Mediterranean, the color purple became synonymous with royalty and divinity. This wasn't just due to its rarity or the labor-intensive process required to create it. It was also because purple was thought to have a special connection to the gods. In fact, Phoenician rulers were often depicted wearing garments dyed in this royal color, signifying their divine right to rule. Purple was not merely a color, it was a statement of power, a declaration of the wearer's elevated status in the eyes of both the people and the gods. The cultural significance of Phoenician purple also extended beyond the realm of politics and religion. Textiles dyed in this color were highly prized in the ancient world, and they became a symbol of wealth and sophistication. To wear purple was to communicate something far deeper than personal taste. It was to embody the very essence of social and political authority. This, of course, meant that the Phoenician purple was also a highly sought-after commodity, traded across the Mediterranean and beyond. The merchants of Phoenicia were adept at controlling the distribution of their dye, ensuring that it remained exclusive to the elite. As the demand for purple textiles grew, so too did the reach of the Phoenician trading network, making the color an integral part of their economic and cultural dominance. But why did this particular color come to symbolize the divine? And what role did the Phoenicians play in cultivating this mystique? Some scholars suggest that purple was considered the color of the gods because of its association with the sea, an essential element of Phoenician life. The deep blue of the ocean, combined with the brilliance of the sun, produced a color that seemed to transcend the natural world, creating an almost otherworldly aura. It was as if the Phoenicians had captured a fragment of the divine ocean itself and transformed it into something tangible, something that could be worn by mortals to invoke the gods' favor. This belief in the sacred nature of purple was not confined to Phoenician culture alone. Throughout the Mediterranean, purple became associated with the divine right of kings, and the production of purple textiles was strictly regulated. In ancient Rome, for instance, only the emperor was permitted to wear a full toga dyed in purple, and anyone else caught wearing the color could face severe punishment. This sacred status of the color would continue for centuries, long after the Phoenician city-states had faded into history. But despite its widespread cultural significance, the mystery of Phoenician purple has never truly been solved. Scholars have long debated how the Phoenicians discovered the secret of dyeing with the murex snail. Was it a chance discovery made by accident, or was it the result of a long tradition of experimentation with natural resources? The process itself was complicated, and yet the Phoenicians perfected it over time, creating a dye that was not only striking in its beauty, but also durable, resistant to fading under the harsh sun of the Mediterranean. The complexities of this process have led some to wonder if there was more to the story, if the Phoenicians had access to knowledge that has been lost to history, knowledge passed down through secret rituals, or perhaps even ancient contacts with other, now vanished civilizations. Some theorists speculate that the secret of the dye was closely guarded, not only because of its economic value, but because it was believed to hold mystical properties. In ancient texts, purple was sometimes described as the color of the heavens, a hue so rare and powerful that it could be used to connect the earthly realm with the divine. Was there a hidden, esoteric significance to the color that has been obscured over time? Were the Phoenicians using purple in religious rituals, perhaps to communicate with gods or to mark sacred events? These questions remain open, waiting for further discoveries that might shed light on the deeper mysteries surrounding the dye. What is clear is that the Phoenicians understood the power of color in ways that most modern cultures do not. Their mastery over purple was more than just a commercial skill. It was a cultural force that helped shape the identity of their society and their place in the ancient world. But as with so many aspects of Phoenician civilization, much of what we know about the dye remains shrouded in mystery. The colors of the ancient world were more than just decoration. They were symbols, tools of power, and perhaps keys to unlocking hidden knowledge. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of Phoenician purple, we are reminded that some questions may never have clear answers. Was it simply a skillful trade secret, or did it hold a deeper, more spiritual meaning? And as we look at the textiles, jewelry, and artifacts that have survived the centuries, we must wonder what other secrets the Phoenicians may have left behind, buried in the folds of their royal purple. What was the true power of the color, and what might it still hold, waiting for someone to unlock its mysteries once again? As we journey deeper into the secrets of the Phoenician civilization, we encounter one of their most profound and enduring legacies, their written language. On the surface, Phoenician writing might appear as a simple script, a series of characters etched into clay, stone, or papyrus. But beneath this simplicity lies a profound mystery, a connection to the very roots of modern writing systems, and perhaps even more, an ancient code that has yet to fully reveal its secrets. Picture, if you will, the weathered stone tablets and fragile papyrus scrolls, each one etched with the graceful strokes of Phoenician script. These ancient writings, found in archaeological sites across the Mediterranean, offer a glimpse into the minds of the Phoenicians. The script itself is elegant in its simplicity, consisting of 22 consonantal letters. It was one of the earliest known alphabets in history. This writing system was used for everything from trade records to monumental inscriptions, offering valuable insight into the culture, beliefs, and day-to-day life of this seafaring people. The Phoenician alphabet was revolutionary in its time. It was a radical departure from the cumbersome systems of writing that preceded it, such as the cuneiform of Mesopotamia or the hieroglyphs of Egypt. Unlike these more complex writing systems, which relied on hundreds of symbols to convey meaning, the Phoenician script utilized a mere 22 characters, each representing a consonant sound. This simplicity allowed it to be easily adapted by other civilizations, spreading across the Mediterranean world and becoming the foundation for many modern alphabets, including Greek, Latin, and Arabic. Its widespread adoption is a testament to its efficiency and versatility, yet it also raises intriguing questions. What inspired the Phoenicians to create such a system? And how did they achieve such a profound breakthrough in communication? The mysteries surrounding Phoenician writing go far beyond its practical utility. Despite its relative simplicity, the script was imbued with layers of meaning, some of which remain elusive. For example, the Phoenician script often appears to be more than just a functional system of communication. It seems to carry an aura of secrecy, as though it held within it hidden knowledge. Some of the inscriptions, particularly those found in religious or royal contexts, exhibit a certain enigmatic quality. What was the true purpose of these writings? Were they mere records, or did they contain coded messages, lost rituals, or even spiritual truths? One of the most famous examples of such mysterious inscriptions is the so-called Baal cycle, a set of texts that were found at the ancient city of Ugarit, modern-day Ras Shamra, Syria. These texts, written in a variation of the Phoenician script, tell the story of the god Baal and his struggle against the forces of chaos. The cycle is rich with symbolic meaning and has been interpreted in many ways, from a mythological narrative to a ritualistic guide. Yet the full meaning of the text remains a subject of intense debate. Was the Baal cycle merely a story, or was it something more, a key to understanding Phoenician religious practices, or perhaps even a form of esoteric knowledge passed down through generations? Then there are the enigmatic symbols found within Phoenician writing that hint at something deeper. Some inscriptions contain markings that do not correspond to any known characters in the Phoenician alphabet. These mysterious symbols have baffled scholars for centuries. Are they remnants of an earlier, more complex system of writing, or could they be part of a secret code? A form of hidden language known only to a select few within Phoenician society? And if so, what was the purpose of such secrecy? Was it reserved for sacred knowledge, royal decrees, or something even more mysterious? Perhaps knowledge of the stars, the seas, or the ancient arts of navigation? The idea of a secret script is not purely speculative. Ancient civilizations often hid their most sacred or sensitive knowledge in complex codes, known only to the priestly class or ruling elite. The Phoenicians, with their sophisticated trade networks and secretive religious practices, may well have used their alphabet to encode deeper meanings, preserving ancient wisdom from prying eyes. Such codes could have been related to their voyages, which reached as far as Britain, or to their esoteric understanding of the natural world. It is possible that the Phoenician alphabet, in its elegant simplicity, concealed layers of meaning that we have yet to fully decode. Furthermore, the Phoenicians were not just the creators of a writing system. They were also the masters of record-keeping and communication. Their inscriptions reveal a highly organized and sophisticated society, one that was intimately connected to the divine and the natural world. The Phoenician script was used to record everything from mundane trade transactions to the divine messages of the gods. Some inscriptions even suggest that the Phoenicians believed their written words had a mystical power, capable of invoking the gods or binding forces of nature. Was there an inherent power in the written word for the Phoenicians, a belief that writing itself could shape reality? This connection between writing and power is perhaps most evident in the inscriptions found in sacred and royal contexts. These texts, often etched into stone or metal, were not merely functional. They were infused with a sense of purpose and intention. Inscriptions on the walls of temples and tombs, for instance, were meant to ensure divine favor or to preserve the memory of the deceased for eternity. The written word in these contexts was thought to transcend time, creating a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Could the Phoenicians have understood their script as a sacred tool, one that held the key to unlocking hidden truths or contacting higher powers? Yet, for all their achievements, the Phoenician writing system itself remains shrouded in mystery. Despite the widespread use of the Phoenician alphabet in the ancient world, only a fraction of the texts that once existed have survived. The Phoenician cities, including Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos, were repeatedly invaded and destroyed, and many of their written records were lost. What knowledge has been lost with these writings? Were there once greater volumes of sacred texts, navigational charts, or mythological tales that have now vanished into the sands of time? The lack of surviving Phoenician literature, aside from inscriptions and fragments, leaves many questions unanswered. Was there once a rich literary tradition that has been entirely erased? Or was Phoenician writing primarily reserved for practical purposes, such as trade and administration? And if there were once works of literature, could they have contained hidden wisdom, knowledge that has since been buried, lost forever? As we examine the surviving Phoenician inscriptions, we are left to wonder, what were the true capabilities of this ancient script? Was it just a tool for everyday life, or did it possess a deeper, more sacred meaning that we have yet to fully grasp? Were there secret teachings encoded within the writing, teachings that were passed down through generations but have since faded from memory? In the end, the mystery of Phoenician writing is not just about deciphering an ancient alphabet. It is about understanding the mindset of a civilization that valued the written word as a powerful tool of connection between individuals, between societies, and between mortals and the divine. As we explore the surviving traces of this script, we may find that the true secret of Phoenician writing lies not in what we can read, but in what remains hidden, waiting to be uncovered. As the dust of ancient Troy settles in the collective memory of history, one of the most enduring tales of war, heroism, and tragedy emerges: the Trojan War. Most of us know the story from Homer's Iliad, with its vivid depictions of Greek warriors, divine interventions, and the infamous Trojan horse. But behind this well-known narrative lies a less explored aspect: the potential involvement of the Phoenicians. In the context of the Trojan War, a civilization known for its seafaring prowess, intricate trade networks, and mysterious religious practices, it seems plausible that the Phoenicians played a more significant role than the historical texts suggest. Imagine standing on the rocky shores of ancient Troy, where the Aegean Sea meets the land. The city, once a powerful bastion of wealth and culture, now lays in ruins, its walls still echoing with the memories of a conflict that spanned 10 long years. The Greeks, with their famed warriors, Achilles, Hector, and Odysseus, are here. But so too are traders, diplomats, and outsiders, people whose stories remain largely untold. Among these figures, it is possible that the Phoenicians, with their ships and extensive mercantile networks, were not mere observers but active participants in the complex web of politics, trade, and warfare that defined the Trojan conflict. We are told little about the Phoenicians in the Homeric texts. Their role is relegated to brief mentions, often as distant traders or humble suppliers. Yet, given their vast influence across the Mediterranean world, it seems unlikely that they would have remained passive during such a pivotal event. What was their true role in the Trojan War, and how might they have shaped the course of the conflict? To understand the Phoenicians' potential involvement in the Trojan War, we must first consider their strategic position within the Mediterranean world. By the time of the legendary war, the Phoenician civilization had already established itself as a dominant force in trade, sailing from their coastal cities, like Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos, across the entire Mediterranean, from Egypt to the western shores of Africa, and even as far as the British Isles. Their knowledge of navigation, shipbuilding, and the seas was unparalleled, allowing them to maintain control of important trade routes and facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies between East and West. While the Greeks and Trojans were embroiled in war, the Phoenicians were thriving in their maritime empire. Could they have been involved in this conflict in a more subtle way than Homer's accounts suggest? Were they neutral merchants who supplied both sides with the materials necessary for battle, or did they have a vested interest in the war's outcome? Phoenician ships were legendary for their speed and durability, capable of traveling vast distances with relative ease. They carried goods of great value, precious metals, purple dye, papyrus, fine glassware, and wine across the Mediterranean. This vast trade network would have naturally brought them into contact with the major players of the Trojan War, including the Greeks and the Trojans themselves. One fascinating possibility is that the Phoenicians served as intermediaries between the warring parties. Their neutral position, bolstered by their reputation as skilled diplomats, may have allowed them to navigate the complex political landscape of the time. Did they facilitate trade, provide weapons, or even deliver secret messages between the Greeks and Trojans? These were people who understood the value of information, trade, and alliances, and it's conceivable that the Phoenicians played a behind-the-scenes role, facilitating the flow of goods and ideas that might have had a lasting impact on the war's outcome. The very concept of neutral merchants during wartime raises another question. Were the Phoenicians truly neutral, or were they strategically positioning themselves to benefit from the conflict? It's possible that they acted as both suppliers and spies, using their extensive networks to glean information and offer assistance to the highest bidder. The Phoenicians were known for their ability to navigate the murky waters of diplomacy, and it would not be out of character for them to have been involved in covert activities during the war. Were they trading weapons and provisions with both sides, hoping to profit regardless of the outcome? Or were they aligning themselves with one side, perhaps in exchange for future influence or the promise of valuable trade privileges? Perhaps the most intriguing and controversial aspect of the Phoenician role in the Trojan War is the possibility that they were involved in the creation or delivery of the Trojan horse. In Homer's Aeneid, the great wooden horse is used by the Greeks to secretly infiltrate the city of Troy, leading to its eventual fall. The Greeks, having been locked in a stalemate for years, devised this brilliant ruse as a way to break the deadlock. While the story of the Trojan horse is often dismissed as myth, it has captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries. Could it be that the horse, or the very concept of it, had Phoenician origins? After all, the Phoenicians were not only master shipbuilders, but also skilled carpenters and artisans. Their expertise in crafting intricate, yet durable vessels might have been applied to the creation of such a device. The Trojan horse, in this context, could have been a Phoenician innovation, a clever use of maritime engineering applied to land warfare. Some historians have speculated that the horse itself was not simply a wooden structure but a highly advanced machine designed by Phoenician engineers to carry soldiers inside Troy's walls. The idea of using deception and ingenuity in warfare aligns with the Phoenicians' reputation for cleverness and pragmatism. Could it be that the Greeks, realizing the failure of their siege, turned to the Phoenicians for a solution? If the horse was indeed constructed by Phoenician craftsmen, this would place them at the very center of the conflict, even if they remained behind the scenes. As we delve further into the potential role of the Phoenicians in the Trojan War, we find ourselves drawn to the mysterious symbols and motifs associated with their civilization. Phoenician iconography, found on coins, pottery, and inscriptions, often features stylized images of ships, deities, and abstract patterns. Could these symbols have held hidden meanings, perhaps serving as covert messages to allies or adversaries during the war? It is also worth considering the possibility that the Phoenicians had knowledge of an ancient system of communication, one that allowed them to convey messages across great distances and through difficult political landscapes. The idea of hidden symbols and messages embedded within the art of the Phoenicians opens up a tantalizing realm of possibilities. Were these symbols more than mere artistic flourishes? Could they have been used to communicate secret alliances or strategies, providing the Phoenicians with a silent but powerful role in the Trojan conflict? The fall of Troy marked the end of an era, but it also ushered in a new phase of Mediterranean history. For the Phoenicians, the destruction of Troy and the shifting political landscape must have represented both a loss and an opportunity. After the war, the Greeks, emboldened by their victory, would expand their influence throughout the Mediterranean. The Phoenicians, with their already established trade networks, would likely have played a pivotal role in shaping the post-war world. As we reflect on the Phoenicians' potential involvement in the Trojan War, we are left with more questions than answers. Did they simply stand by, observing the conflict from a distance, or did they have a hand in shaping the outcome? Were they mere traders, or did they have deeper ties to the gods, the warriors, and the fate of Troy? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what secrets might still lie hidden within the ancient ruins of Troy, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of explorers? In the heart of the ancient world, where the Mediterranean's azure waters kissed the rugged shores of Phoenicia, a mystery lay hidden in the stone. From the bustling ports of Tyre to the quiet remnants of Byblos, the Phoenicians were a people defined by their mastery of trade, exploration, and craftsmanship. Yet it is their written language, or more precisely the cryptic inscriptions they left behind, that continue to stir the imaginations of historians, linguists, and archaeologists to this day. What do these ancient symbols truly reveal? Are they merely records of everyday life, or do they conceal a deeper, more enigmatic purpose? Phoenician inscriptions can be found etched into stones, on clay tablets, and even on monuments that have stood the test of time. They are fragments of a past that speak to us, but do they tell us everything? These inscriptions, written in an alphabet that would eventually influence the development of many of the world's major writing systems, offer a glimpse into the minds of a civilization long gone. Yet, despite their apparent simplicity, many of these symbols remain stubbornly resistant to full understanding. For centuries, scholars have attempted to decode them, but much remains a mystery. The Phoenician alphabet itself is a marvel. With only 22 characters, it was a revolutionary departure from the complex cuneiform and hieroglyphic systems that dominated the ancient world. Its efficiency and simplicity allowed it to spread quickly across the Mediterranean, influencing the Greeks, the Romans, and countless other cultures that followed. But within its simplicity lies a profound complexity. The Phoenician letters were not just utilitarian symbols. They held meaning beyond the literal. The way these letters were arranged, the context in which they were used, and even the materials on which they were inscribed all hint at layers of meaning that go unnoticed at first glance. One of the most intriguing aspects of Phoenician inscriptions is their occasional use of what appears to be a cipher or code. While many of the inscriptions seem straightforward, commemorating kings, recording trade transactions, or marking significant events, there are others that appear deliberately obfuscated. Some scholars believe these cryptic texts were intended to keep certain knowledge hidden, reserved for a select few who could decode them. Were these inscriptions simply a way of recording history? Or were they also used to encode secret messages, perhaps related to religious rites, royal decrees, or even the mystical knowledge possessed by the Phoenician elite. Take, for example, the enigmatic stelae found in the ancient city of Byblos. On these stones, lines of Phoenician script seem to be interwoven with symbols that appear to be both linguistic and visual. Some symbols resemble familiar Phoenician characters, but others seem entirely foreign. Could these be a form of cipher, a hidden language within a language? Were they designed to convey a deeper esoteric meaning, or were they simply a stylistic flourish? The truth remains elusive. Similarly, inscriptions found on the famous sarcophagus of King Hiram of Byblos, one of the most important artifacts from Phoenician antiquity, present another puzzle. While the text on the sarcophagus is largely legible, the precise meaning of certain phrases has long been the subject of debate. Some researchers suggest that the inscription may contain a hidden message or a coded reference to events or figures not immediately apparent in the text. What secrets might lie buried in these words, waiting to be uncovered? As intriguing as these inscriptions are, they also lead to more questions than answers. Was there an organized effort within Phoenician society to keep certain information concealed? The Phoenicians were known for their secrecy, particularly when it came to their trade routes and maritime knowledge. They were the masters of navigation, their ships crisscrossing the Mediterranean, reaching as far as Britain and the coasts of Africa. Could their knowledge of the sea and the stars have been encoded in their writings, passed down through generations in a form that only a select group could understand? Some scholars speculate that the Phoenicians may have used their alphabet to encode more than just words. Could the letters themselves have represented hidden meanings, such as numbers, astrological symbols, or even geographical coordinates? After all, the Phoenicians were not only traders, but also navigators of extraordinary skill, believed to have understood the complexities of the stars and the winds long before their contemporaries. Were the inscriptions on their monuments and artifacts an attempt to pass down this knowledge, preserving it for future generations or for a select group of initiates? Adding to the mystery, there are occasional references to divine figures and mythical creatures within Phoenician inscriptions. These symbolic elements suggest that their written language may have had a spiritual dimension, one that extended beyond mere record-keeping. The role of the gods in Phoenician society was paramount, with deities like Baal, Melqart, and Astarte revered in temples and shrines across the Mediterranean. Could their names and symbols hold a key to understanding the true purpose of these inscriptions? Some have argued that these symbols were not just religious, but encoded with deeper, hidden knowledge, possibly linked to Phoenician rituals, their cosmology, or even the ancient mysteries they practiced. One particularly fascinating theory suggests that the Phoenicians may have used their alphabet to encode not just their history, but their beliefs about the cosmos. The stars, planets, and celestial phenomena were of immense importance to the Phoenicians, who saw the heavens as a reflection of divine order. Could their inscriptions, with their occasional cryptic symbols and seemingly out-of-place characters, be a celestial map, a guide to the mysteries of the stars? Or perhaps they were a record of the Phoenicians' understanding of time and space, encoded in a form that has yet to be fully decoded. As we delve deeper into these ancient texts, it becomes clear that the Phoenician alphabet, with its rich history and enigmatic symbols, holds far more than meets the eye. What were the Phoenicians trying to convey, and why did they leave behind these mysterious inscriptions? Were they simply trying to record events for posterity, or were they attempting to communicate something far more profound? The Phoenician cipher remains a tantalizing puzzle, one that continues to elude modern scholars. And as we uncover more inscriptions, each one seems to add another layer to the mystery. Could there be a code hidden within these ancient texts, a secret waiting to be unlocked? Or are we simply looking at remnants of a lost language, fragmented and incomplete, its deeper meanings lost to time? The answers may lie within the stones themselves, waiting for the right moment to reveal their secrets. Until then, the mystery of the Phoenician cipher persists, leaving us to wonder what ancient truths are still hidden beneath the surface of these ancient inscriptions. Could there be a key to understanding the very essence of Phoenician society, waiting to be discovered in the forgotten characters of a long-lost script? The search for answers continues, and with each new discovery, the mystery deepens. The sea has always been a realm of mystery, a vast expanse that stretches beyond the horizon, where the unknown and the unexplored beckon. In the ancient world, few people were more attuned to its secrets than the Phoenicians. These extraordinary mariners, with their mastery of navigation, left behind a legacy that continues to confound and inspire modern explorers, archaeologists, and historians alike. The mysteries of Phoenician navigation are hidden in the wake of their ships, in the scattered remnants of their voyages, and in the intricate maps and methods that may never have fully been understood. What was it that allowed the Phoenicians to chart the unknown, to sail farther than anyone before them, and to leave their mark on the ancient Mediterranean world? Picture, for a moment, the bustling harbors of ancient Phoenicia, the air thick with the scent of salt water, pine, and spices from distant lands. Ships, sleek and powerful, are anchored at the quays, their hulls carved from the finest cedars, ready to venture out into the vast Mediterranean. The Phoenician sailors, skilled and confident, know the stars above and the currents below as well as they know their own hands. They are not merely traveling, they are navigating a world of uncertainty where each voyage is an exploration of the unknown. But how did these ancient seafarers achieve what seemed impossible? How did they, with their rudimentary tools, manage to cross vast distances, establishing trade routes from the shores of the Levant to the coasts of Spain, North Africa, and even beyond? The answer lies not just in their ships or the goods they carried, but in their understanding of the very elements that governed their world. Wind, stars, currents, and the silent language of the sea. These were the tools of Phoenician navigation. One of the most fascinating aspects of Phoenician navigation is their apparent mastery of the stars. Unlike the Greeks, who are often credited with early advancements in astronomy, the Phoenicians relied on their intimate knowledge of the night sky to guide them. Imagine standing on the deck of a Phoenician ship, the vastness of the Mediterranean stretching out before you. Above, the stars twinkle, constant and unwavering. Yet the patterns they form are not simply a spectacle. They are a map. The Phoenicians knew these constellations as well as any modern navigator knows his charts. The pole star, for instance, served as a fixed point, helping sailors determine their latitude as they moved across the sea. But the Phoenicians were not merely content to follow the stars. They also understood the winds and currents that dictated the rhythm of the sea. Through centuries of trial and error, they mapped the prevailing winds and seasonal currents, using this knowledge to plan their routes. The concept of windward versus leeward was central to their navigation, as was their ability to understand the shift in currents from summer to winter. This knowledge allowed them to chart courses that would enable them to sail with the winds in their favor, avoiding dangerous waters and seeking safe harbors when needed. Still, the question remains: how much of this ancient knowledge was passed down, and how much has been lost to time? While much of what we know about Phoenician navigation comes from Greek and Roman texts, these accounts are often second-hand, filtered through the lens of a civilization that had a very different relationship with the sea. Did the Phoenicians keep their navigational secrets close to their chests, passing them down only through oral traditions and coded symbols? Or did they share their techniques freely, spreading their maritime prowess across the Mediterranean? There is, however, a tantalizing theory that suggests the Phoenicians may have developed a form of celestial navigation that we have yet to fully understand. archaeologists have uncovered evidence of intricate star charts and inscriptions, some of which appear to be linked to a lost Phoenician method of plotting their course across the Mediterranean. These charts, found on ancient pottery and stone tablets, suggest a highly advanced understanding of the stars, one that might have enabled Phoenician sailors to navigate even on cloudy nights or in the absence of visible landmarks. The precise methods behind these charts remain a mystery. Were they based on a form of dead reckoning, using known distances between key landmarks to estimate their position, or did the Phoenicians have a more sophisticated system of navigation that we have yet to decode? Adding another layer of complexity to this mystery is the discovery of Phoenician navigation stones. These stones, some of which have been found along the coastlines of ancient Phoenician trading routes, bear strange markings and symbols that some scholars believe may be navigational aids. Could these stones have been used as waypoints, marking safe harbors or critical points of interest for sailors along their routes? Or were they part of a more complex system of directions, perhaps encoding the geographical layout of the seas in a way that modern archaeologists have yet to unravel? If these stones were indeed part of a Phoenician navigational system, it would suggest that the Phoenicians had developed a far more intricate and precise method of travel than we currently understand. It is not simply a matter of steering a ship in the right direction. Rather, it implies a deep, almost mystical knowledge of the land and sea, a kind of ancient map-making that transcended the written word. This possibility points to the idea that Phoenician sailors may have navigated by feel, reading the subtle signs of the natural world, interpreting currents, winds, and celestial bodies in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. As we peer into the past, we are left to wonder how much of this knowledge was truly lost when the Phoenician civilization began to decline. The fall of Carthage, the last of the great Phoenician cities, marked the end of an era. With the loss of their cities, their ships, and their methods, much of what we know about Phoenician navigation seems to have vanished into the annals of history. The Romans, who followed in the Phoenicians' wake, adopted and adapted many of the maritime practices they had inherited, but by then, the original teachings may have already been obscured. Could there still be remnants of Phoenician navigational knowledge hiding in the world today, encoded in ancient texts, forgotten artifacts, or even in the whispers of the sea itself? Perhaps, just as the Phoenicians once charted the stars to guide them across the Mediterranean, there are still hidden pathways waiting to be rediscovered that will reveal new truths about the depths of their knowledge. The mysteries of Phoenician navigation remain, like the sea itself, vast, enigmatic, and waiting to be explored. What was it that allowed these ancient mariners to chart courses over waters so treacherous, to establish trading routes so expansive, and to create a legacy that continues to captivate our imaginations? Perhaps the key to understanding their true genius lies not in the relics they left behind, but in the vastness of the ocean they once conquered.